Chapter 42. Lu Mubai advances at the same time Lu Mubai was advancing. Within the restricted area of Yenzhou country's Imperial Palace, a white-haired old man opened his eyes and dashed out of the restricted area. He stood in the air, standing in the direction of the general's mansion. What a strong energy fluctuation during advancement. He narrowed his eyes, then laughed. The Lu clan has birthed another Sword King. Not bad, not bad. In the main hall of the Imperial Palace, a middle-aged man in purple clothes walked out of the main hall, felt the spiritual force surge in the direction of the general's mansion, then touched his Buddhist beads in his hands. The Lu clan has birthed another Sword King. Lu Mubai is indeed exceptionally talented. In the imperial capital, a green-clothed old man expressed surprise within a hillside wooden house that sat in an area with plentiful spiritual force where birds sang and fragrant flowers bloomed. Such a powerful and grand advancement. Lu clan's little boy truly is worthy of being the #1 prodigy of the empire. In a courtyard of a distinguished clan, there were 3 people currently chatting in their seats, when suddenly they felt the spiritual force incessantly surge in one direction. They immediately stood up and stared, transfixed, in the direction of the Lu clan. After the spirit clouds in the sky scattered, one of the middle-aged men said, "The new Sword King of the Lu family, it must be Lu Mubai. Didn't he just advance to an advanced phase sword spirit not long ago? How did he advance to the Sword King stage so fast?" A young man asked with a complicated expression. "Marrow cleansing pill. I guess he must have obtained the marrow cleansing pill." A light shone from the eyes of a man not yet 20 years of age behind the 2 men. Yes. Yun Lan and Yun Jin both received a marrow cleansing pill from Lu Muyen. How could Lu Mubai, who's Lu Muyen's eldest brother, not have it? The man who spoke before clenched his fist with a face of certainty. Then he turned to the middle-aged man with excitement in his eyes. "Father, the effect of the marrow cleansing pill seems to be even better than what the rumors said." "Marrow cleansing pill?" the middle-aged man murmured, then laughed aloud. "Let's go visit the Lu clan now to congratulate Lu Mubai's advancement." An old woman sat cross-legged atop a deep pond. She retracted her gaze that fell on the sky, then immediately received a message from her family. "Marrow cleansing pill?" The old woman stood up from atop the deep pond and walked on its surface towards the shore step by step. "For the clan, it looks like I must personally visit the Lu clan." Similar scenes occurred across Yenzhou country. Lu Mubai's advancement, accompanied with the previous situation on the marrow cleansing pill, once again caused a sensation in the entire imperial capital. The general's mansion in the imperial capital. A gentle, handsome, white-clothed man walked out of the room in the courtyard. He was tall and slender with an ethereal, otherworldly temperament. His entire person naturally exuded a feeling of a fallen immortal. "Grandpa, father, Yenner, Xiaoting." Lu Mubai's eyes were dyed with joy. Even he didn't think that he could borrow the broadened meridians from consuming the marrow cleansing pill to madly absorb spiritual force and unexpectedly advance to a Sword King. Congratulations, eldest brother, on becoming a Sword King expert. Lu Muyen naturally hugged Lu Mubai's arm, blinked her eyes, and said with a smile. Lu Mubai reached out a hand and poked Lu Muyen's small, pretty nose. This time, it was all thanks to Yenner's pill. "Eldest brother, aren't you a little too abnormal? It's only been a few years and you left me behind so far already." Lu Muting raised his eyebrow and huffed, but within he was proud of having such an elder brother. Lu Mubai glanced at him and said, "Well, who told you to run around everywhere day and night and not focus on cultivating? The fact that you can even reach middle phase sword spirit was because of your talent." He glanced at his sister, who smiled like a flower, then looked back at his younger brother with a smile, yet not quite a smile, and added another stab. "If you stay this idle, I believe that Yenner will surpass you soon. Come and read on our website Wuxiao World site." Thanks. Lu Muting rolled his eyes, as if he'll be surpassed by this little girl. "Second brother, then let's compete to see who can advance to Sword King first." Lu Muyen really liked this homely feeling and atmosphere. She smiled and looked at Lu Muting in provocation. "Sure, let's compete then. When you lose, don't cry." Lu Muyen rolled her eyes at Lu Muting. She hadn't cried since embarking on the journey of cultivation. With her natural endowments and experience, it was exceptionally easy to surpass Lu Muting. Who knows who'll be the one crying then? Let's wait and see. The two played and laughed around, then Lu Muyen told them what occurred at the auction yesterday. Grandfather and the rest all agreed with her approach. Instead of hiding things and being coveted by others, they might as well make it public. Since everyone knew it, then the secret would no longer be a secret. What made Grandfather and Lu Mou relieved was that Lu Muyen really grew up, was sensible, and knew how to be considerate. The fact that Lu Muyen could gift the marrow cleaning pill to Yunlan proved that she put her aunt in the palace, who loved her, in her heart. It showed that her family still held a significant place in her heart. Although not many people dared to scheme against the Lu clan, but Yenner still needs to be more careful in the future to prevent vile people from causing trouble. Lu Mou still had some concern about the safety of his daughter. How about during this time, you can cultivate by Mu Bei's side? Daddy, I can't always keep growing beneath your wings, I won't go far that way. Lu Muyan's heart warmed as she radiated self-confidence, making her appear beautiful and refined. She looked at them with determination in her eyes. I will continue to work hard towards the path of the strong. Even if before me is a path full of thorns, I'll still charge forward and create my own path towards strength. Upon hearing what sounded like an oath of her determination and resoluteness, they were stunned. All right, as expected of my Lu clan's child. This firm heart of a cultivator is the most precious. Grandfather's eyes revealed gratification and admiration. He would be the first to support his family's Yenner's grand aspirations. After a pause, Grandfather added, Yenner is right. Sword cultivation is essentially heaven-defying, so one cannot cultivate with fear. It takes a firm heart of Tao to become a strong person. This situation could be considered Yenner's test. Let's let her do what she wants. Thank you, Grandpa. Lu Muyen let go of Lu Mubai and affectionately shook her grandfather's arm. Even she, herself, didn't expect to behave like this one day, so natural and genuine. I thought incorrectly, Yenner's choice is right. His daughter's words made Lu Mou see through the murkiness of his mind. Previously, he and his wife were too afraid of their daughter getting hurt, so they protected her too well. But clearly the effect wasn't good. Now that his daughter radiated self-confidence, it also became his drive. He decided to comply with his daughter's wishes and let her grow independently. He believed that his daughter wouldn't let him down. Yenner is so confident, we must work harder too. Lu Mubei's eyes were filled with determination and hope. He would also move forward courageously on the path of the strong. Lu Muting was also touched by his big brother and little sister's determination and resoluteness. He couldn't be left too far behind by them either. After returning to the frontier, he should also concentrate and devote his energy to cultivation. The family happily talked about their experience in cultivation, and although Lu Muyan's cultivation base was the lowest, but the opinions she raised from time to time caused them to reflect. Upon the end of their discussion, they quickly returned to their respective rooms and attempted to comprehend, aided by the realizations from her words. That day, many people came to visit the Lu clan under the pretense of congratulating Lu Mubai on his advancement, but they were all sent away by the steward with the excuse that their eldest young master was still consolidating his cultivation base. Early the next morning, an imperial edict summoned Lu Muyen and Lu Mubai to the palace, breaking the peace in the Lu clan. Lu Muyen held the imperial edict in her hands with an understanding in her heart. The imperial family definitely wanted to know the origins of the marrow cleansing pill or wanted to inquire about the alchemist who refined the marrow cleansing pill from her. But she had already prepared for this. Chapter 43. Entering the palace, Lu Muyen and Lu Mubai rode the carriage through the gate of the palace and directly towards Yantian Hall. Only once they've arrived did they get out of the carriage and walk into the large hall. On the main seat in the middle of the large hall sat a handsome middle-aged man in bright yellow brocade. With one look, one could tell his identity. On the lower right side sat a radiant and glamorous woman in a red palace dress. She was precisely Lu Muyan's aunt, Lu Mozi. In addition to the two and the palace guards in the hall, there also sat two elderly men with an extraordinary temperament, and who appeared lively and vigorous. Formal greetings to the Emperor, Empress. Lu Mu Bai lead Lu Mu Yen into the hall and raised his hands to respectfully greet the two on the main seats. Then he turned around and greeted the two elderly men respectfully. Lu Mu Bai greets Imperial teacher, principal. When a sword master greeted the emperor, there was no need to bow down like a commoner or ordinary person. Lu Mu Yen also took a step forward and greeted the several people respectfully, imitating Lu Mu Bai. It seems that the rumors are true. The little girl Mu Yen has indeed changed a lot. Emperor Yun Tianchen said with a gentle smile to the empress beside him. Empress Lu Mozi glared at Yun Tianchen, then with a smile. However Yenner changes, she is still our Lu clan's treasure. The implication in her words was to remind Lu Mu Yen that she had a special identity and needn't tolerate others' bullying. Yun Tianchen revealed a little helplessness in his eyes. Moz was more and more distrustful of him. Did she think he'd eat Lu Mu Yen one? Yenner, come here. Lu Mozi beckoned gently to Lu Mu Yen, her eyes looking at her dotingly. Lu Mu Yen was naturally able to tell her aunt really loved her, and her heart felt warm. She took a few steps forward, held Lu Mozi's hand and addressed intimately, Aunt. As long as you, little girl, is fine, then everything's well. When you were injured by that Gu Yen ran before, it truly worried Aunt. Lu Mozi said with a coldness in her eyes. This debt would definitely be repaid by the Gu clan. Lu Mu Yen patted Lu Mozi's hand lightly to show comfort and said nonchalantly, It's just an insignificant person, don't let it affect Aunt's mood. There really wasn't any need to pay attention to a person like Gu Yen Ran. But of course, the repayment towards Gu Yen Ran wouldn't be lacking either. Seeing that the two involved the Gu clan now, Yun Tianchen displayed a somewhat unnatural expression, then changed the subject with a smile. Little girl, I heard that your terminal meridian's constitution has been eradicated? Replying to the emperor, yes. Lu Mu Yen replied with a faint smile, but the smile didn't reach her eyes. How could you call the empress aunt, yet call Zhen Tu emperor? Yun Tianchen's eyes revealed a trace of affection. You used to call Zhen uncle. That was because Mu Yen was ignorant before, but now I don't dare to be presumptuous anymore to save my aunt from experiencing any grievance in the palace. Lu Mu Yan's face remained unchanged, but her tone carried a little sarcasm. Her aunt had given so much to this man, but this man kept accepting one concubine after the other. In recent years he had even been pampering Gu Yen Ran's elder sister extensively. She didn't want to care about whether the structure of the empire required him to do this or not. She only complained for her aunt that doted on her. Yun Tianchen's eyes darkened. This girl was even bolder now. He turned his head to look at the emotionless empress, feeling bitter in his heart. He sighed secretly. He also had his own difficulties, made too many involuntary decisions, but he also let down his most beloved woman. You little girl. Yun Tianchen's face revealed a helpless smile, pretending not to understand her insinuations. As Lu Moz loved Lu Mu Yen, then he too would adore Lu Mu Yen. If he blamed Lu Mu Yen right now for her words, then he was afraid that his relationship with Lu Moz would be even stiffer. A sliver of sorrow flashed across Lu Moz's eyes, but not wanting to mention Imperial noble consort Gu, she lifted her head and smiled at Lu Mu Bai. Mu Bai, congratulations. Thank you, Aunt. Come and read on our website Wuxiao World site. Thanks, Mu Bai. Do you have any plans after advancing now? Yun Tianchen valued Lu Mu Bai. As the #1 prodigy of the empire, he would definitely be great support in the future to Yenzhou country. Lu Mu Bai's gentle, handsome face was still calm and composed, replying to the emperor, I want to continue to stay at the Imperial Academy and participate in the Academy's annual competition, then the trials after that. Sounds fine. Yun Tianchen nodded. The Imperial Academy's annual competition was exceptionally important this time. After the annual competition was the selection trials. With Lu Mu Bai participating, the safety of the students had more guarantee. Then Yun Tianchen chatted idly with Lu Mu Bai and Lu Mu Yen, all of which were rather simple questions. Seeing that the topic between the emperor and the two simply wasn't entering into the main subject, The white-haired old man in the main hall coughed gently. Then he looked at Lu Mu Yen and asked straightforwardly, "Lu girl, do you still have any more marrow-cleansing pills that you gifted to Yun Lan and Yun Jin?" "No more." Lu Mu Yen opened her palms and shrugged. The two old men in front of them were both sword monarch experts, and were important figures within Yenzhou country. The white-haired elderly man that spoke to her was Yenzhou Empire's imperial teacher, Yun Tsang, and the green-clothed elderly man who wore a smile beside him was the Imperial Academy's principal, Ruanli. As such, she maintained the respect that they deserved in her attitude towards them. "Then can you tell us how you obtained the marrow-cleansing pill?" Yun Tsang didn't conceal the expectant look in his eyes. The marrow-cleansing pill's effects were simply too amazing, so they must ask clearly. "My master gave it to me." Lu Mu Yen didn't even blink when lying. Yun Tsang frowned and asked in surprise, "Master? Why have I never heard of you having a master before?" "I only became master's disciple when I went to the Blazing Mountain Range, that's why no one knows." "Is your master in the imperial capital?" Yun Tsang couldn't help but show excitement. They all thought that there was an expert behind Lu Mu Yen, so the purpose of calling Lu Mu Yen here was to befriend that high-level alchemist through her. The marrow-cleansing pill was simply too important for Yenzhou country. If they could get their hands on a few, then they would definitely be able to raise more sword kings with better aptitudes, and perhaps even sword monarchs. By then, entering the ranks of a powerful country was only a matter of time. With such an opportunity in front of them, how could they not be tempted by it and take a shot at it? Yun Tianchen and Ruanli also looked at Lu Mu Yen nervously. They weren't doing it for themselves. Everything was for the glory of the empire. Lu Mu Yen shook her head. "After Master gifted me the pill, he went to travel. As for when he'll be back, I also don't know." "Is your master an alchemist? Why did you become his disciple?" A trace of disappointment flashed through Yun Tsang's eyes, but he still looked at Lu Mu Yen, unreconciled, and continued asking. "I heard that there's a kind of spiritual herb in the Blazing Mountain Range that could improve one's constitution, so I went the Blazing Mountain Range with a mercenary party, who took on a mission in there, thinking to at least give it a try. Then we were separated by a group of fur crimson boars, and I accidentally strayed into an underground cave and met Master." Amongst the commoners, there were indeed rumors of this sort of spiritual herb, but no one had ever obtained such a spiritual herb. But Lu Mu Yen could still borrow this to conceal the fact that she went to the Blazing Mountain Range to look for the flame fruit. At the time, he just finished absorbing and refining the crystal core of a demonic beast. When he saw me break in, he initially wanted to kill me. But who knew that he discovered I had elemental energy with wood and fire attributes, said that I had the talent for alchemy, then inexplicably told me to become his disciple. The reason why alchemists were scarce on this land was because one must have comprehended both the wood attribute element and the fire attribute element to become an alchemist. The dual elemental energy attribute talent was vital. Because of my terminal meridian's constitution, I couldn't absorb the spiritual force of heaven and earth to use my wood and fire attribute elemental energy, so Master threw me a bottle of marrow-cleansing pills to refine and eradicate and improve my constitution. He also taught me some alchemy skills, then sent me to the peripheral of the Blazing Mountain Range and left. Lu Mu Yen slowly said the excuse she had thought of previously. Regardless of whether they believed her or not, if they couldn't find the master she spoke of, then they couldn't do anything about her either. One they eat in this context means to bully, burden, and or cause suffering to. Try to use the royal we here, but then I think it won't be too confusing if I just use the pinyin, which is said only by the emperor in replacement of the less formal I. Chapter 44. A slight display of her skills. After listening to Lu Mu Yan's words, Yun Tsang's expression was incomprehensible. He believed the expert that Lu Mu Yen spoke of existed. After all, the Lu clan didn't have an alchemist, so it was impossible for them to refine the marrow-cleansing pill. It was just that they didn't know whether the expert was in the imperial capital or not, nor whether Lu Mu Yen had more marrow-cleansing pills on her or not. He had doubts in his heart, but he couldn't express it directly, so he cast a surreptitious glance to Ruanli. Ruanli pondered for a moment, then smiled softly and said, "So, According to what you said, Lu girl can concoct pills? I heard that you even won a cauldron at the auction. Could it be for your own use? When I was in the cave, Master personally guided me for a few days. I can now refine grade 1 pills. When one should be humble, then they should keep a low profile, but when it was suitable to shine, then one needn't conceal. Only by exposing one's own advantages could they be qualified to negotiate the terms. What? Wanli couldn't help but stand with disbelief written on his face. Yun Tianqin and Yun Tsang both displayed shock and doubt. Lu Mu Yen was now a grade 1 alchemist? How could that be possible? Alchemists weren't like cabbages. She only cultivated for how long and she could already refine a grade 1 pill? They doubted deeply. Don't believe me? Lu Mu Yen raised her eyebrow, took out the Cyan 1 cauldron from her interspatial ring and asked, "Would you like me to show it to you?" Believe. Wanli suppressed the suspicion in his eyes and put on an amicable smile, but of course, it would be even better if Lu girl could refine a batch of grade 1 pills in front of us. Alchemists on Tianling continent were simply too scarce, and the alchemists of Yenzhou country were even scarcer, with not more than 10. If Lu Mu Yen truly was a grade 1 alchemist, then it was definitely worth their efforts to raise her. Little girl, if you really have this ability, then go ahead and show it. It would be of great benefit to you and even your Lu clan. Yun Tianqin concealed his excitement. If Lu Mu Yen was really an alchemist, then it would be great for Yenzhou country. Lu Mu Yen nodded, walked to a table, and placed the cauldron atop of it. Then she took out the spiritual herbs required for the pill she planned to refine one by one. Without a pill flame, she could only use charcoal fire to light up and control it to the temperature required for refining pills. Then she threw a dark green spiritual herb into the cauldron. She used her mental energy to refine the spiritual herb into a dark green liquid, purified it, poured the purified powder into a white porcelain bowl, then threw in the second spiritual herb to continue. The reason why Lu Mu Yen took out the purified powders one by one, then throw them into the cauldron to mix when it was time to condense the pills was so that she wouldn't expose her mental energy. Time passed bit by bit, and the people watched as her slender, white hands threw, took, and placed, with a serious and confident attitude. Every movement was like a painting, pleasing to the eye. Wang. Hearing a light buzzing sound from the cauldron, Lu Mu Yen smacked the cauldron with her palm, then a pill fragrance wafted out from within. A few pills flew out and landed in her hands. This is a grade 1 energy-nourishing pill, and it has the miraculous effects of treating internal and external injuries. Lu Mu Yen filled a white porcelain bottle with the pills and handed it to Ruanli. Ruanli's eyes revealed a sliver of sharpness. He took the pill, poured one out and smelled it, only to be stunned and couldn't help but exclaim, "This is a top-quality pill, not to mention you could refine 5 in one batch." Even a grade 2 alchemist couldn't necessarily produce such a high-quality pill, not to mention such a high pill rate. Excellent. Lu girl is truly exceptionally talented in alchemy. Yun Tsang also didn't expect this result, so he patted the armrest of the chair excitedly. Just then, he was already stunned at just how fluid her movements were, like flowing water, yet who knew that the quality of the pills and the pill rate would be so high as well. With such talents in alchemy, it was definitely possible for her to advance to a grade 3 alchemist. No wonder that mysterious expert alchemist would value her at a glance. He was truly wise to be able to recognize a pearl too. There was a faint smile in Lu Mu Bei's indifferent eyes. His younger sister did a good job. She used her actions to convince the others to believe the existence of the mysterious high-level alchemist, and she also put herself, along with the Lu clan, in the most advantageous position. You just said that the energy-nourishing pill has the miraculous effect of treating internal and external injuries? Yun Tianqin fell silent for a moment before staring at Lu Mu Yen, unable to conceal the delight and burning desire in his eyes. Come and read on our website Wuxiao World site. Thanks, yes. Lu Mu Yen had to admit that maybe Yun Tianqin wasn't a good husband, but he was a good emperor. What he now thought of was definitely using the energy-nourishing pill in the army. The Tianling continent not only lacked alchemists, but pill recipes were also scarce. Even a grade 1 recipe would be vied for by numerous entities. The energy-nourishing pill had never appeared on this land, so it was even more precious. Lu girl, can you sell these pills to us? Yun Tianchen wanted to test the energy-nourishing pills for its effects. Lu Mu Yen played with the porcelain bottle she had taken back from Ruan Li, pondered for a bit, before raising her head and said, "Sure. But I don't want money. I want spiritual herbs in exchange." "That's not a problem. You can write down the spiritual herbs you want. As long as the Imperial Treasury has it, we can give it to you." Yun Tianchen agreed with a smile. Being so generous naturally also meant he wanted to win her over. Lu Mu Yen also wasn't humble. She took out a piece of paper and brush from her interspatial ring and began to write the list on the table. Then she handed an entire page full of spiritual herbs to Yun Tianchen, and amongst them were also the spiritual herbs required to refine the foundation establishment pill. Yun Tianchen took the paper and glanced over it casually, then his face changed. The corners of his lips couldn't help but twitch. Not only did she want so many kinds of spiritual herbs, but there were even some high-level spiritual herbs scattered within that even the Imperial Treasury didn't have. Was she trying to rip off some foolish spendthrift 3? He couldn't help but hand the paper over to the Imperial teacher. Whether or not to give Lu Mu Yen these spiritual herbs also required the Imperial teacher's input. Seeing the Emperor's helpless look, Yun Song took a look, and his expression also changed in an instant, then handed the paper to Ruan Li with a frown. Ruan Li took a look at the paper curiously and couldn't help but smile. This girl was a master who wouldn't suffer. In what way was this a deal? This was simply an extortion. But what could he do when Lu Mu Yen was a student of his Imperial Academy? He, Ruan Li, was very protective, so his heart must lean towards his students. This is only a little bit of spiritual herbs. Your Imperial family's large and prosperous. This little bit of spiritual herbs is just a single fur from 9 oxen too. Based on my opinion, you aren't at a disadvantage in this transaction. Yun Song was originally a very rigorous and strict person, but right now he couldn't help but glare at Ruan Li. This old thing had nothing to do with this. That's the only reason he could speak so casually. Lu Mu Yen didn't expect that Ruan Li would stand on her side, but understood when she thought of Ruan Li's identity. A smile rose on her lips. This old man wasn't that bad. If one wasn't prepared to risk their child, they would never catch the wolf for. So after a short moment, Yun Song nodded to Yun Tianchen. "Lu girl, we have 2/3 of the spiritual herbs on this list in the Imperial Treasury, but the rest might not even be found in the hands of a sword monarch in the Empire, let alone the Imperial Treasury." "Which ones?" Lu Mu Yen already had a guess in her heart. Deep orchid, 7-leaf ginseng, holly grass. Yun Tianchen read out the 9 types of spiritual herbs that they really didn't have in the treasury. Although Lu Mu Yen was a little disappointed, but it was already a huge profit to exchange more than 30 precious spiritual herbs. She threw the bottle in her hand to Yun Tianchen and said straightforwardly, "Forget it. I'll suffer the loss. Other than these 9 kinds of spiritual herbs, give me 2 of everything else." Yun Tianchen and Yun Song almost couldn't help but spit out a mouthful of blood. 5. Did she suffer a loss? And 2 of each? Did she even want any face? 1. I had trouble translating the color, Qing, for a while. I translated it as blue, then I edited it to green, but why did I never think of cyan? I don't know why it took me so long to figure out how to translate it when it was that simple. It's a mix between blue and green, so it's cyan. 2. Recognize an amazing person. 3. A colloquial saying often used between friends, usually to describe a person, or rhetorically describe themselves. Means that the person was so foolish to do something that was obviously at the disadvantage, usually to do with money. For if one is unable to take risks, they cannot achieve great things. 5. They almost couldn't control their anger/dismay. Chapter 45. Pampered consort Gu Yanting. Lu Mu Yen left the main hall with the Empress and the spiritual herbs she plundered, while Lu Mu Bai was left behind to speak to the 3 in secret. "Aunt, is Gu Yen Ran's elder sister still targeting you?" Lu Mu Yen asked as she walked, hugging Lu Mo's arm. Lu Mo's lips curled up with a sneer. "So what if she's targeting me? She's just a jester." She had never highly regarded Gu Yenting. From the very beginning, all she cared about was Yun Tianchen's attitude. But the results made her disappointed time and again. Lu Mu Yen caught the sadness in her aunt's eyes, but she was also extremely powerless. Strength could be improved, one could fight in an attempt to obtain what one couldn't, but feelings really weren't something that allowed other people to meddle with. Does Aunt want to improve your strength? Lu Mu Yen pondered a little. Maybe doing other things to pass the time could make her aunt a bit happier. Lu Emo's heart warmed, and a charming smile bloomed on her gorgeous face. I'm already past the age of rushing about to cultivate. I'm really not keen on the matters of cultivation. She also knew Lu Mu Yan's thoughts, but she really didn't have much talent on the path of cultivation, and had stayed at advanced phase Great Sword Master for many years already. Although advancing to the Sword Spirit stage was only a matter of time for her, but if she wanted to advance to a Sword King, it was almost impossible. Then what does Aunt like? Alchemy? Smithing? Talismans? Or maybe a race? Lu Mu Yen also heard that her aunt hadn't been keen on cultivation since she was a child, and these things couldn't be forced, so she made a few other suggestions. Having things to do was always better. Alchemy, smithing and talisman making all required talent, and I don't have any of that. Lu Mozi smiled and shook her head, but when she mentioned the last item, there was a sense of regret in her voice. I've studied the basics of arrays, but it's just that there are too few ancient records, so even if I wanted to continue researching, I don't really have a choice. She wasn't keen on cultivation since she was a child, but she liked to study on the path of the arrays, but it was a pity that in the end she was unskilled at it. As she thought more and more, Lu Emo's eyes darkened. Now that her niece mentioned it, she realized that she had really wasted her time on unnecessary conflicts over the years. Maybe Yenna was right. She should find something she liked to do. Her heart couldn't keep revolving around Yun Tianchen. She was really tired. If Aunt likes arrays, then that's easy. I just read some ancient records regarding arrays, and I still remember them. I'll write it down when I return home and send it to you. Upon seeing Lu Mu Yan's black eyes shining as bright as stars, Lu Emo's heart melted in a complete mess. She smiled and nodded, sure. After the two talked for a little while, they saw a beautiful woman in a pink dress walk towards them with several maidservants. Lu Emo's eyes grew cold, turned her head to Lu Mu Yen and said, later, if she provokes us, you don't have to be considerate. Aunt will take care of things if anything happens. She couldn't bear Lu Mu Yen receiving any grievances and didn't want the niece she pampered like her own daughter to change her personality because of her. So what if she was arrogant and tyrannical? As long as Yenner was happy. Sure. Lu Mu Yen naturally took the Empress' hand and walked forward together. Gu Yenting was indeed a beauty. Different from her aunt's glamour and magnanimity, she bore a kind of delicate and demure beauty that men preferred more. In her memory, every time Gu Yenting saw Lu Mu Yen in the past, she would ridicule and provoke, specifically targeting her wounds. Her aunt also had a maidservant slap Gu Yenting's face because of this. In the end, the issue was taken to the emperor, and because of this, the emperor and empress feelings also grew colder. All in all, when Lu Mu Yen exchanged moves one with the Gu clan's sisters, she was always defeated. The two constantly faked being weak and aloof, but Gu Yenting's methods were more skillful. This servant consort greets Empress. Once they were face to face, Gu Yenting stepped out first and greeted Lu Emozi respectfully, her voice soft and gentle. Lu Mu Yen furrowed her brows. She hated this sort of women that simply wasn't gentle, act delicate or demure. Especially the deliberate soft and sugary voice that made her very disgusted. Come and read on our website Wuxiao World site. Thanks, Stand. The smile on Lu Mo's face had long disappeared, and she nodded coldly. Gu Yenting stood and looked at Lu Mu Yen with a smile. Greeting, young Miss Lu. Lu Mu Yen didn't perform a formal greeting towards Imperial Noble Consort Gu, and her voice was indifferent. Imperial Noble Consort Gu. Gu Yenting was surprised. Today, these two people gave her a different feeling from the usual. Young Miss Lu didn't go see Sir Qi today? I heard from Yen Ran that he was accidentally injured while cultivating. Gu Yenting looked at Lu Mu Yen with a smile. The meaning behind her words were obvious. The first person to go accompany Qi Yixian when he was injured was her younger sister. It's not like I'm the concubine the Qi clan set. What does Qi Yixian being injured or not have to do with me? Why should I go visit him? Lu Muyen looked at Gu Yenting with a smile that wasn't quite a smile. Gu Yenting's expression stiffened. She didn't expect that Lu Muyen, who would immediately change the moment Qi Yixian was spoken of, could be so indifferent today. Now that she mentioned her younger sister being a concubine, anger rose. Humph, since I can't provoke Lu Muyen today, it's still good to provoke the Empress. Elder sister too, are you going to enjoy the flowers in the southern park with young Miss Lu? Gu Yenting covered half her face with a fan and pretended to be shy. This servant consort commented on how the peonies in the southern park were blooming so beautifully a couple of days ago, and then Emperor ordered people to move the peonies in the southern park to this servant consort's courtyard. Now there are no flowers in the southern park to view, so elder sister does not need to go for nothing. Lu Muyen sneered at such direct flaunting, then turned her head and asked Lu Mozi, "Aunt, since when did you have a younger sister? Why don't I know?" Imperial noble consort Gu, this Empress 3 only has an elder brother and a younger brother, but no younger sisters. It's best that you do not randomly seek connections. Lu Mozi continued on from Lu Muyen's words, but today she really wasn't in the mood to deal with Gu Yenting in front of her niece. This Empress still has something to do, you may withdraw now. Gu Yenting's face changed, her white teeth bit her pink lips and suppressed the secret hatred in her heart. Lu Mozi wouldn't be complacent for long now, so she could bear her for the time being. She just didn't believe that, after hearing that the Emperor dug up the peonies that Lu Mozi personally planted, this woman wouldn't feel unhappy. This servant consort withdraws. There was a hint of complacency in her voice. After Gu Yenting finished speaking, she took the maidservants past Lu Muyen and Lu Mozi, leaving the back garden in lotus-like steps 4. But the moment they passed, Lu Muyen smelled a very light sweet scent from Gu Yenting. She narrowed her eyes. There was a problem with this woman. After a while, she moved her gaze away from Gu Yenran's back, and when she raised her eyes, she caught a very light sadness in her aunt's eyes. Lu Mozi appeared indifferent to the situation of the southern park on the surface, but she still felt extremely uncomfortable inside. Every single peony there was planted by her own hands, yet who would have thought that that man would let people dig it up and gift it to Gu Yenting? Was he also digging her heart 5? Aunt, sometimes what you see and hear is not necessarily the truth. Lu Muyen couldn't help but remind. Lu Mozi suppressed the sadness in her eyes. She didn't want to mention anything regarding that man anymore, so she changed the subject. Yenner, you entered the palace so early in the morning, you must be hungry now, right? Shall we return to my resting quarters and eat? Sure. Lu Muyen didn't mention anymore. She only had a suspicion in her heart, so it was best to verify it with a little investigation, then speak of it. One fought with them, verbally or physically, and could involve obscure understandings of words as well as scheming. 2 concubines and wives etc. would also call each other as elder sister or younger sister etc. 3 technically she doesn't really use the word empress, but a specific way of addressing herself, like how the emperor addresses himself as Zhen. She uses Ben Gong, Ben, I've been translating to this, e.g. this young miss, this young master when they're addressing themselves. Gong technically means palace, but it's really weird to say this palace, and since she's the empress, I decided to just make her use this empress. For ideal type of walking for females, gentle and refined. 5 to hurt her, basically. Chapter 46. A bet due to the appearance of the marrow cleansing pill, people visited the Lu clan like an endless stream. Annoyed, Lu Muyen secretly returned to the Imperial Academy's small building to cultivate and arranged an array around the courtyard. Wanli paid a lot of attention to Lu Muyen as she was an alchemist. Knowing that she wanted to avoid those who wanted to obtain some information, he asked people to guard her courtyard and not allow any outsiders to bother her. In the small building, Lu Muyen naturally knew what Wanli did, and was happy to accept this personal favor. After taking a spiritual energy-enhancing pill, She began to absorb the spiritual force of heaven and earth and convert it into spiritual energy. The spiritual force was much more abundant in the academy than in the Lu clan, while the dantian in her body was like a bottomless pit, so every day she absorbed spiritual force madly, causing some spectacular phenomenon around the small building. For example, even though there's no advancement, there would be a dense amount of spirit clouds, and because she could comprehend all the elements in this world, some spirit clouds that formed were even of different colors: gold, cyan, red, yellow, and blue alternated. Such a spectacle also attracted the attention of the academy's superiors and other students, but the principal had addressed the issue early on, otherwise Lu Mu Yan's small building would have been swarmed with people who wanted to investigate. In a majestic and quaint hall within the academy, there sat 6 high-ranked people of the academy. Aside from Principal Ruan Li being a sword monarch expert, the other 5 were all sword kings. Principal, just what kind of skill is Lu Mu Yan cultivating? How can there be so many spirit clouds gathering every day, not to mention the situation had been going on for nearly a month? A tall and thin middle-aged man asked with knitted brows, carrying with his words a sense of inquiry into the situation. Ruan Li held a blue and white porcelain teacup with inked bamboo, brushed the top of the cup with the lid to cool the tea, and took a sip. Even I don't know. He was also very curious as to why Lu Mu Yan could attract spirit clouds for such a long period of time, but this was her secret, and he wouldn't look into it. Her cultivating like this has attracted the attention of other students in the academy. During this period, students often loiter around her courtyard. I'm afraid that the longer this extends, it will negatively affect the academy. The middle-aged man continued after pondering. He had a good relationship with the king of Jinshi, Yun Tianzong, so he had the intent to suppress Lu Mu Yan. A tall, sexy and glamorous woman beside the middle-aged man curled her lips into a smile and said disapprovingly, "I don't think Lu Mu Yan's behavior would have any negative effects." The fact that she could borrow the effects of the marrow cleansing pill to eradicate her terminal meridian's constitution, break through to a great sword master cultivation base, and could now even gather spirit clouds when cultivating, meant that her talent was very good. Our academy should raise her vigorously. Amongst them, a woman with a cold attitude and ordinary face replied with a sense of rivalry, "The ability to attract spirit clouds does not equate to good talent. There are many students at the Great Sword Master cultivation base. It's too hasty to say we should raise her vigorously based on those 2 points." Before the glamorous woman could reply, her expression unhappy, a rotund old man that sat across her with red hair and a red beard stroked his beard and said with a smile, "I heard that Lu clan's little girl is also a grade 1 alchemist. Such a good seedling can't be wasted. How about you throw her to me to teach?" The red-haired old man was named Ruan Yang and was not only Ruan Li's younger brother of the same parents, but was also the only grade 3 alchemist in the Yanzhou Empire. He held a very high status and was highly respected. In terms of the power to rally supporters, it even surpassed the principal, Ruan Li. But he was usually indifferent to fame and fortune, devoting himself to alchemy, and rarely appeared in the academy. This time he was only here because Ruan Li recalled him to discuss matters about the marrow cleansing pill and the energy nourishing pill. Of course, he himself was also very interested in the girl Lu Mu Yan. If the rumors were true, then such a good seedling couldn't be given up. Upon hearing Ruan Yang's words, the faces of the people present changed, except Ruan Li. The face of the ordinary-looking woman sank, while the expression of the middle-aged man who disliked Lu Mu Yan was even more obscure. The Academy's grand competition is going to be held in 3 days. Let's wait for after the competition to discuss this matter. Ruan Li observed the expressions of the several people and smiled softly. Don't forget the grand competition this time is related to the selection of people for the Empire's trials. The once every 20-year event is approaching. Tianling Continent's society structure will also change accordingly. Our Imperial Academy is one of the pillars of Yanzhou country, so I don't wish for anyone to suppress the students of this academy simply because of their personal feelings. After he finished speaking, he glanced sharply at the middle-aged man. Lu Mu Yan had already been listed by him and the Imperial family as an important person to protect and raise, So whoever dared to scheme against her needed to weigh their consequences. Come and read on our website Wuxiao World site. Thanks, of course. They wouldn't make a move if it didn't involve any life and death situations. If Lu Mu Yen wanted to enjoy the resources they provided, then she also needed to demonstrate strength that they could recognize. Startled, the middle-aged man's face changed, a little ugly. Ruan Li's sharp gaze made his heart tremble. It seemed that it would be impossible to deal with Lu Mu Yen in the near future. Do you think anyone in the Earth class would stand out and become a member of the trial? The glamorous woman from before chuckled. I have high hopes for Lu Mu Yen. Why don't we make a bet? A handsome young man, who had been silent the entire time, spoke up with some interest in his eyes. Let's bet on whether she can win Gu Yen Ran or not, and win the single quota set for the Earth class. Sure. The glamorous woman was also interested, raised her eyebrows and said, How should we bet? I'm going to bet Lu Mu Yen wins. Well, take out a spirit treasure each and bet on whether they win or lose. The young man took out a golden treasured sword and placed it on the desk, a meaningful smile playing about his lips. I bet Lu Mu Yen wins. The middle-aged man sneered and took out a ring-shaped attack magic tool. I bet that Gu Yen Ran wins. These two people were truly underestimating the Gu clan and underestimating Gu Yen Ran. He knew Gu Yen Ran's strength wasn't as simple as it was on the surface. I also bet Gu Yen Ran. The ordinary-looking woman took out a round bead and placed it on the table. Ruan Yang swept the spirit treasures on the table and said, I don't have any extra spirit tools on me, can I bet pills? Of course. The others agreed in unison. Elder Yang's pills were much more valuable than spirit treasures. Seeing that three of them bet on Lu Mu Yen, Ruan Li raised his eyebrows with a smile and said, Is this interesting for you all? If Lu Mu Yen wins, how will the three of you divide the spoils? We're just looking for some fun. If Lu Mu Yen wins, then we'll sell the spirit tools from Hu Fei and Kong Rong One and just take the money. The young man didn't care. He was just looking for a little fun in his boring life. Ruan Li also knew this person's personality. It was as if he feared there wasn't enough chaos in the world. He also didn't want to stop it. For a long time, they never liked Hu Fei, and letting them bet wasn't anything serious. I won't participate in your bet. I'll just be a witness. In his heart, Lu Mu Yen was more promising, so he hoped the little girl wouldn't let him down. Meanwhile, Lu Mu Yen didn't know at all that her results in the grand competition were being used by several people as a bet and was currently attempting to break through to Advanced Phase Great Sword Master stage. Half a month ago, she already used the spiritual energy accrued in her body to break through to Middle Phase Great Sword Master stage. Recently, her dantian had been ceaselessly absorbing numerous spirit clouds again, to the point that the speed of conversion into spiritual energy was not as fast as the absorption speed. She decided to slow down and use the spiritual energy in her body to break through once more, heading to Advanced Phase Great Sword Master. As such, she could not only stabilize her cultivation base, but also provide more guarantees for the grand competition. One based on the characters used for the names. Hu Fei is the middle-aged man who dislikes Lu Mu Yen and Kong Rong is the normal-looking woman. Note: due to the start of daylight savings, this chapter and my following chapters may update at a different time where you guys live. Chapter 47. The grand competition begins on the day before the Academy's grand competition. A large cluster of 5 colored clouds gathered in the sky above the small building. Once they condensed into a spirit cloud, they were naturally dragged into the small building by a gravitational force. Lu Mu Yan's dantian kept operating, and the slivers of spiritual force lingered around her dantian before a very pure spiritual energy spread from her dantian, replenishing each of her meridians, cleansing them again and again. After her whole bodis meridians were saturated with spiritual energy, the remaining spiritual energy in her dantian turned into a light green mist that kept rotating. When the time came, the light green mist instantly spread and filled up her entire dantian. She sat cross-legged with her eyes closed as her hands changed gestures in front of her chest, forming various hand seals. When the light green mist in her dantian was completely saturated, she suddenly opened her eyes and finished the last hand gesture. A pure energy came from within her body, and the barrier between middle phase Great Sword Master and advanced phase Great Sword Master was shattered by the energy. Feeling that the spiritual energy was even more abundant, and that her strength rose yet another level, she smiled and exhaled a stale breath. Success! The next day, at dawn, Lu Muyen withdrew the array around the courtyard and exited the small building. She looked up at the scorching sun blooming in the sky as the breeze gently raised her elegant, purple clothes. Her entire person seemed to be shrouded in a layer of golden light. Today was the day she would rise from dormancy, and the shame she once bore would also be washed away. She desperately wanted to set foot on the path of the strong. After exiting the courtyard, she walked merrily towards the Imperial Academy's battlegrounds. The Lu Muyen right now exuded a passionate and confident look. With her exceedingly bright and beautiful face, as well as her graceful bearing, there was even a sense of otherworldliness, causing the people around her to be unable to control their gazes. Is that Lu Muyen? Am I seeing things right? Someone whispered on the way. You're not mistaken, it's her. I've heard long ago that she had changed, but who knew she'd changed this much, so much that she's hardly recognizable. Yeah, I've got to say, Lu Muyen's quite beautiful now, not at all inferior to Gu Yenran. Forget it, no matter how beautiful she is, she's only trash that has the looks and nothing else. I sure want to see how she defeats Gu Yenran today. After talking so big, it'd be embarrassing to lose when the time came. A woman who walked in front of the men couldn't help but interject. That's true. Gu Yenran is the most talented student in the Earth class, and the most promising one who could obtain that only position in the Earth class for the trials. This time Lu Muyen is bound to be embarrassed. Mentioning Gu Yenran, the male student who spoke bore love in his eyes. Not only is she going to be embarrassed, but the face of the general's mansion would all be lost. How is it that such an impressive person like upperclassman Lu has such a shameless and trash sister? Those that verbally attacked Lu Muyen were mostly female students. But I heard that she's advanced to the Great Sword Master cultivation base, and the 5-colored spirit clouds that appeared last month in the sky was attracted by her when cultivating. Maybe she'll prove herself today. A male student from the Earth class said. TSK, who knows what she used to attract the 5-colored spirit clouds? I won't believe she's really that amazing. Maybe it's a means to attract Qi Yixian's attention. A female student who had a good relationship with Gu Yenran said with extreme disdain. She didn't believe those rumors at all and suspected that they were all Lu Muyen's gimmicks. Aren't you all thinking too highly of her? Even if she broke through to the cultivation base of a great sword master with the help of the marrow cleansing pill, but there are more than 30 people in the great sword master cultivation base in the Earth class. It's not certain that she and Gu Yenran would meet in the competition. Come and read on our website Wuxiao World site. Thanks, even if they aren't matched, they still promised, so the competition between the two will definitely take place. We just need to wait for a good show. Ever since Lu Muyen exited, rumors about her had spread throughout the Imperial Academy. Aside from a few people who believed the rumors, the rest just lamented her luck to be able to obtain the marrow cleansing pill, but didn't admit she was capable. The balance in more than 2/3 of the student Boda's hearts all leaned towards Gu Yenran. Lu Muyen wasn't interested in their whisperings or their loud discussions at all. Her gaze was natural and composed as she entered the Imperial Academy's battlegrounds. She found a seat in the corner to sit down and wait for the beginning of the competition. Because her previous interpersonal relationships were very bad, she had no friends in the Imperial Academy, so no one approached her to start a conversation. There were some who came to inquire about the marrow cleansing pill before, but she ignored them all, which made others feel that she was arrogant and domineering. But as if she'd bother to deal with those two-faced people. Because of her indifference, no one came forward to talk to her after she sat down in her seat. Even the empty seats around her weren't taken by anyone, deliberately isolating her. She leaned back in her chair lazily, closed her eyes and calmed her mind. There wasn't any excessive expression on her face, only calm and composure. After approximately a quarter of an hour, the raised platform with the seats of honor filled with people one by one. Then, as a pressuring voice sounded, the noise from all around stopped instantly, and everyone looked at the person on the high platform. Today is the Biennial 1 competition of our Imperial Academy. I am honored to be elected as the referee of this grand competition. The person who spoke was a blue-clothed, handsome man, precisely the man who brought up the bet that day. Lu Muyen opened her eyes and turned her gaze to the man who spoke. He was the Imperial Academy's youngest Sword King instructor, named Lan Si. She heard that he got along well around the academy, and his background was also not simple. The grand competition this time will be separate between the old and new students, and between the Heaven class and Earth class, and the results of the grand competition are directly linked to the subsequent trials. Lan Si continued after a pause. We will only decide the top 8 students amongst the new and old students in the Heaven class, and 2 for the new and old students in the Earth class, with a total of 10 places. I won't say any more. I believe everyone knows the importance of the trial after the grand competition. The allocation of resources of the Imperial Academy in the future depends on it. There are a total of 1,800 old and new students together participating in the competition, but only 10 spots. So everyone must work hard. Hearing what Lan Si said, the students who sat on the stage revealed excitement and fervor. With so many people, yet only 10 places, they had to work hard. After Lan Si finished speaking, he announced the start of the grand competition. A total of 30 battle platforms were set up, with each platform lined with students. Each student would draw lots to decide their opponent. As long as they lost one round, then they were automatically eliminated. The 8 winners of the Heaven class would obtain a place in the trials, while the Earth class situation was crueler as only the winner of the old students and the winner of the new students would be chosen for a place in the trials. There were 4 referees on each platform, 2 responsible for maintaining the energy shield to prevent the fighting from affecting the outside, 1 was responsible for deciding the winner and loser, and the last one was responsible for calling up student names to draw their lots. Lu Muyen was placed on battle platform 26. She got the number 5 lot, so her opponent was also the number 5 lot, which meant that they were the 5th battle on battle platform 26. Gu Yenran was assigned to battle platform number 1. After she finished drawing her lot, she casted a confrontational look at Lu Muyen, but Lu Muyen only smiled faintly and ignored it. Both of them were looking forward to the following competition in their hearts, and secretly thought that once they met on the battle platforms, they'd stomp each other down into the dust. Oops, it was biennial, not annual. Time to go back and fix my translation, huh? They never mentioned if it was annual or biennial. I translated as annual competition because I didn't know how else to translate it. Only when I was translating this chapter did I suddenly have a thought. Grand competition sounds good. Why didn't I think of that earlier? Note, last daily double update for now. Might only double update during the weekends like before, susceptible to change. Chapter 48. Grand competition begins. 1. The Imperial Academy's annual competition this time determined a portion of the quota for the mysterious trial of Yenzhou country. In addition, many children and disciples of distinguished clans and families cultivated at the academy. Therefore, the academy also specifically arranged seats for distinguished guests, such as those from the imperial family and the distinguished clans of the empire, to view the competition. Today, Lu Zhantian also came with Lu Mou and his 2 grandsons to watch Lu Muyan's competition. Their seats were positioned at the bottom left of the emperor, while the seats next to the Lu clan were actually the Gu clan's patriarch Gu Yuankai and Yun Tianzong, who deliberately arranged it this way. After the few people met, Yun Tianzong narrowed his eyes at Lu Mou, then looked away after a cold huff. Gu Yuankai was a better schemer, so even though he had many conflicts with the Lu clan, he smiled like the Buddha Bodhisattva one and greeted, Marshal Lu, General Lu. Lu Zhantian nodded lightly while Lu Mou smiled and nodded, Patriarch Gu. After greeting each other, the few stopped communicating, but when Yun Tianzong spoke secretly to Gu Yuankai, he would occasionally glance at Lu Mou coldly. Lu Mou was naturally calm and composed, ignoring the completely unthreatening gaze. Lu Mubai didn't participate in the grand competition because he advanced to the Sword King stage. He was specially granted a position in the trial, agreed by the superiors in the empire. Lu Muting was originally going to return to the frontier, but because Lu Muyen was going to participate in the academy's grand competition, he accompanied his family to watch the battle and cheer. Mu Ting, you little kid, you've been back for a while now and didn't come to greet us, your old friends? Xiao Ziong sat behind Lu Muting and reached out to poke Lu Muting's back with a bitter tone. Yun Jin chuckled. Xiao Ziong, what's with your expression? As if you're an abandoned little wife? How embarrassing. Go, don't bother me when I'm talking to Mu Ting. Xiao Ziong's face collapsed and pushed Yun Jin's handsome face, that had neared him, away from him. I was thrown into closed-door cultivation by Grandpa the moment I came home. We'll have a get-together again after the grand competition. Lu Muting shrugged and lied without skipping a beat. He did shut himself up in the training room of the Lu clan for closed-door cultivation, but that was because his elder brother and younger sister were simply abnormal, which gave him a sense of crisis. He didn't want to be left behind too far, so he worked harder. But he naturally wouldn't say these things in front of his good friends. Mu Ting, the effect of your closed-door cultivation is pretty good. You've already broken through to advanced phase sword spirit. Grandpa too should really shut you in more often. Yun Lan looked at Lu Muting, joking. Lu Muting rolled his eyes. This was typical gloating. They're such bad brothers. Mu Ting, you hopping up 2 levels consecutively, does it have anything to do with the marrow cleansing pill? Xiao Ziong was a person who couldn't keep his thoughts to himself, so he asked in a whisper after glancing around. Lu Muting raised an eyebrow, with a tsundere expression 3. The marrow cleansing pill isn't as miraculous as the rumors. It's obviously because of my excelling talent, okay? The marrow cleansing pill was indeed miraculous, but it was only in terms of broadening the meridians, washing the marrow and cleansing the body, but the progression of strength still depended on talent and hard work. He went from an initial phase sword spirit to an advanced phase sword spirit not just because the speed of him absorbing the spiritual force of heaven and earth was more than doubled after taking the marrow cleansing pill. He broke through also because his talent was quite good, accompanied by madly absorbing the spiritual force of heaven and earth and converting it into elemental energy. My little sister said that the pill is just an assistance. Cultivation still had to rely on one's own comprehension and hard work. Lu Muting had always been a Siscon 4, so he unconditionally believed that whatever his little sister said was the truth. Who can tell that even Lu Muyen can say such things? Xiao Ziong pursed his lips. Why can't my little sister say these words? Xiao Ziong, is your skin itching 5? Lu Muting rolled up his sleeves, as if expressing you say another word and I'd beat you up. Xiao Ziong glared at him. Trust you to discard your humanity for your younger sister. Lu Mubai and Yun Lan looked at the bickering two in amusement. Seeing this sort of scene felt as if they were being taken back to many years ago. Alan, how are your preparations for this time's trial? Lu Mubai asked Yun Lan in a whisper. Yun Lan nodded. Almost done. Elder brother is participating in the trial this time for Yenna, right? Come and read on our website Wuxia World site. Thanks as the #1 genius, with Lu Mubei's excelling talents, the 3 forces of Yenzhou country had long recognized him as not needing to participate in the trial. It must be because of Lu Muyen that he insisted on participating in the trial. Speaking of Lu Muyen, Lu Mubei's expression warmed. The grand competition has begun. Yun Luo suddenly interjected as he looked down. They stopped talking and all turned their eyes to the battle platform below. The first 4 matches on battle platform 26 were all not very strong, so the battles were quickly over. When it was the 5th battle, the moment the referee finished calling up the contestants, Lu Muyen saw a young man leap atop the battle platform. This man was a student from a different Earth class and had no interactions with her. He was at the middle phase Great Sword Master cultivation base. With a tap of her toe, Lu Muyen also leapt onto the battle platform. When one of you falls off from the battle platform, you lose. Of course, if one of you voluntarily admits defeat, it also means that the battle is over. The referee waved the yellow flag in his hands and announced, "The battle begins." Please go easy. The man on the opposite side cupped his hands respectfully at Lu Mu Yen. Without leaving her any time to speak, he mobilized his elemental energy, channeling it into the long sword in his hand and swung at Lu Mu Yen. Lu Mu Yen was indifferent, used flash step, and quickly dodged the sword aura from the opposing side. The difference in strength was too big, so there wasn't any challenge for her. She didn't take out any weapons, only moved her feet, and her afterimages vanished from the battle platform. Before anyone could see clearly, she already moved behind her opponent, and with a strike of her palm, her opponent flew out of the battle platform. Wow! The students watching below were stunned, their mouth open wide in disbelief. Wasn't this a bit too exaggerated? Because Lu Mu Yen had always been famous throughout the Imperial Academy, even if it was negative news, it'd be followed with interest, not to mention her promised battle with Gu Yenran, so when she hopped onto the battle platform to compete, many people focused their attention on battle platform 26. But what all parties didn't expect was that Lu Mu Yen would have such an easy fight as her first battle. She defeated a middle-phase great sword master with one move, who spread the rumor that she was only an initial-phase great sword master. It was just nonsense. Seeing that his granddaughter was so decisive, Lu Zhantian couldn't help but smile and said, "Yener did great." Yun Tianchen was sitting in the front row, and also paid attention to Lu Mu Yen. Although he was shocked, but he was satisfied with this result, so he turned his head with a smile and said, "As expected of this little girl who's from the Lu clan. When she battles, she has the courage and decisiveness of a solider." Huh, Emperor is right. Lu Zhantian laughed loudly and accepted Yun Tianchen's praise without any humility. Gu Yuan Kai, who sat next to him, had a gloomy look in his eyes, but he smiled kindly without any words. Yun Tianzong snorted coldly, "It's only the first battle, what's there to be so proud of?" "So what if this old man is proud, are you unconvinced?" Lu Zhantian had always had a straightforward temperament. Whoever said anything negative about his granddaughter, he'd argue with them. One, the laughing Buddha, always happy and smiling nicely. Two, technically the words he uses indicate that it's his maternal grandpa. There are two ways of calling your grandpa, one way by the kids of your son, and another way by the kids of your daughter. But might just stick with grandpa unless I need to make clear who's who. 3 thought long and hard, but decided to go with tsundere, because the Chinese word is literally a loan word from the Japanese tsundere. It means to be cold and distant, but only acts this way because he's embarrassed and shy. 3, I think it's also a loan word from Japan. The Chinese is. It means to have a sister complex, a state of liking one's younger sister very much. In Lu Mu Ting's case, he's just very protective, believes whatever Lu Mu Yen does/says is right, won't take others' berating of Lu Mu Yen, etc. I just googled sister complex and its definition gets rather out of hand. Don't worry, it won't go any weird or extreme routes, ha. For meaning, is he looking for a beating? Note, yay the typical surprise guys, im strong trope. XD can't get enough of those tbh. Let's see what happens next. Random side note, what a gore fest the drama Squid Game is. EP7 here I come. Let's see how the drama ends. Chapter 49. Grand Competition 2. There were 1,800 students participating in the Grand Competition, divided into 30 battle platforms, with 60 people each platform, paired up to compete in elimination rounds. After the first round, Lu Mu Yen continued to draw lots amongst the remaining students on this battle platform, and drew lot number 8. Her performance earlier shocked many people, and the people in her group looked at her with faint fear. The match just now actually didn't mean much. After all, Lu Mu Yan's opponents was rather weak. But because the image of her being trash was so deeply rooted in the hearts of the people, it caused this unexpected sensation. Gu Yenran stood not far away, and seeing Lu Mu Yen win her first round so easily, her eyes that was initially calm revealed a trace of hostility. Qi Yixian had also been paying attention to Lu Mu Yen. Ever since he won, his gaze had been locked on to battle platform number 26. Seeing her competing relaxedly and with ease, her hair fluttering in the wind, and her appearance so beautiful and refined, his heart couldn't help but beat like a drum. but it was just a momentary thing. After the lot was drawn, Lu Mu Yen automatically ignored the incessant discussions below, walked to her seat and casually scanned the battles on the other platforms. The ferocity level in the Earth class was much more inferior to the Heaven class, so apart from the few occasional battles that attracted many people's attention, there wasn't much popularity. An hour later, the referee announced the second round of the 8th match. There was no suspense in the battle. Lu Mu Yen soon ended the battle and won. She continued to draw lots, continued to win, all the way until the last competition on platform number 26. Lu Mu Yen leapt onto the stage with a tap of her toe all the same. This time, her opponent was a pink-clothed woman named Inua who was rather attractive. She was in the same Earth class as her, was also the strongest in their class, and was a highly regarded sword master. It was just that the relationship between her and Inua was rather stiff, and they had numerous conflicts. This woman usually spoke badly about her behind her back, followed Gu Yen ran in embarrassing her, not to mention she once even almost killed her. Lu Mu Yen, I'm not the trash that battled with you before. There was disdain in Inua's eyes. Let me end your grand competition this time. Lu Mu Yen folded her arms, wearing a smile, yet not quite a smile, on her face, while there wasn't much warmth in her eyes. Just how confident was this woman to be able to say these absolute words? End her participation in the grand competition? What a joke! Since they were matched, then it was perfect. She had always wanted to calculate the debt from this woman. The favor of a meal must be repaid, while revenge must be taken on grievances as well. Her temperament was as such, knowing to whom she should show gratitude and to whom she should resent. Watch what you're saying. Who ends who will only be known after a battle. Lu Mu Yen didn't bother to spend any more words, turned her head to the referee on the battle stage and said, "Let's start." Seeing that both of them were ready, the referee repeated the rules, then announced the battle begins. Seeing Lu Mu Yen's indifferent attitude towards her, as if she was insignificant, a feeling of discomfort rose in Inua's heart. What right did this trash have to dislike her? She would definitely show Lu Mu Yen who's stronger today, and let her know that Qi Yixuan wasn't someone a trash like her could think about. Yes, one of the reasons Inua often targeted Lu Mu Yen was because she adored Qi Yixuan, and she didn't like seeing a woman like Lu Mu Yen who only got close to Qi Yixuan because of her family background. In her eyes, Lu Mu Yen liking Qi Yixuan was a sort of defilement. Accept your death. Inua took out a silver longsword and channeled her elemental energy into it. She leapt up and swung her sword in the air. The gleam of the sword that carried a thick, cold aura instantly turned into a blue sword aura and headed directly for Lu Mu Yen. Come and read on our website Wuxia World site. Thanks, Lu Mu Yen could feel the blue sword aura carried the pressure of an advanced phase great sword master. It appeared that Inua trained her sword skill well, but it was a pity that her abilities were still lacking. Such strength wasn't even worthy for her to draw her own sword. She quickly formed a few hand seals in front of her chest. With a flick of her slender hands, a flash of red that carried the fire elemental energy shot out, heading directly towards the blue sword aura. Shishi! In just an instant, the blue sword energy was completely submerged by the fire and let out a few sizzling sounds in the air. What? Inua never thought that Lu Mu Yen had such abilities. She put away the belittling in her heart and her face darkened. This trash should consider herself lucky for making her use all her powers. You're able to make me use this skill, Lu Mu Yen, you're very fortunate. Inua huffed. Her silver long sword incessantly swung in the air, then immediately following, the sword aura condensed into numerous blue petals and floated towards Lu Mu Yen. Sword aura condensation. Yun Lan whispered on the audience seats, his brows deeply knitted, then looked at Yun Jin. She's a member of the E-clan? Sword aura condensation used to be the E-clan's peerless skill trump card. A few hundred years ago, they had hopes of ranking amongst the 10 distinguished spirit sword clans, but because they offended a large force, they were suppressed miserably. Later, because the talents of the clan grew weaker and weaker, they gradually declined, and were now not even ranked in Yenzhou country. This peerless skill, sword aura condensation, was also lost 100 years ago, But who would have thought it was unexpectedly used by this woman? She's named Yi Nuo, is the granddaughter of the current patriarch of the Yi clan, and also the most talented disciple of the clan. That's why she was sent to the Imperial Academy. There was worry in Yunjin's eyes. I didn't expect that she could use sword aura condensation. No wonder she previously declared that she would take the only spot allocated to the Earth class. So it turned out she had such a trump card. He wondered if Lu Muyen could take this attack. Yunjin would participate in the trials with the members of the Imperial family, so he didn't compete in the Academy's selection for the trials. Yener can handle it. Unlike Yunlan and Yunjin's worries, Lu Mubei's indifferent eyes were stained with a layer of determination. Seeing his younger sister's complacent and calm appearance on the battle platform, Lu Muting couldn't help but believe she'd win. Yener will definitely win. Xiao Ziong and Yun Luo exchanged glances. Where did the confidence in these two brothers come from? The reason why sword aura condensation is called a peerless skill must have its reasons. I also believe in Lu Muyen. Yun Lan pressed his lips together, staring at the battle platform, transfixed. Yun Jin didn't speak, but his clenched hands revealed he was not calm at this time. Lu Muyen's eyes revealed slight surprise. This woman's sword skills weren't bad, except the person using it was too weak. She didn't even comprehend the key to this skill, yet she used it so confidently. Yi Nuo was too arrogant. An arrogant soldier was bound to be defeated. She converted part of the spiritual energy within her into fire elemental energy, once again formed another Taoist seal with her hands, then with a flick of her jade-like fingers, numerous lifelike, fire lotuses hopped off her fingertips, as if blooming gorgeously like real ones. The fire lotuses that floated in front of Lu Muyen were even more dazzling and eye-catching than the blue petals. Upon the release of the fire lotuses, the temperature around the battle platform rose steadily, shocking the people. What? Ruan Yang, who sat on the raised platform, pushed himself up to his feet with his hands on the armrests and stared at Lu Muyen on the platform. That little girl was this competent in using her fire elemental energy, not at all inferior to the Yi clan's sword aura condensation. What a great seedling! Then he slapped his thigh and looked sideways at Yuan Li. She's only at the Great Sword Master cultivation base, yet she was able to comprehend the fire attribute elemental energy to this stage. She was simply born to refine pills. I want this little girl. Ruan Li retracted the amazement in his eyes. The girl from the Lu clan was constantly giving them surprises. Remembering the mysterious figure behind Lu Muyen who refined the marrow-cleansing pill, he couldn't help but pour cold water on his younger brother. Another person has long accepted her as their disciple. You're a step too late. Guanyang froze. That's right. This girl had already become someone else's disciple, and he was afraid that it would be difficult to accept him as a master. It was truly a pity, such a good seedling was dug out by another alchemist. Which old thing had such sharp eyes? Ruan Li sighed, but the fiery desire in his eyes that looked at Lu Muyen still hadn't faded. It was rare to encounter such a talented seedling. He wouldn't be reconciled if he didn't at least try. One burst his bubble, to extinguish his excitement by giving him some unfortunate facts. Chapter 50, Grand Competition 3. The blue petals fell one by one, while the crimson petals floated towards it. The two forces, one condensed with the ice attribute elemental energy, and the other condensed with the fire attribute elemental energy, clashed in midair. The sky above the two of them clashed into magnificent sparks of color. The moment the blue petals touched the fire lotus, it turned into countless sword auras that attempted to disperse the fire lotus elemental energy. But it was a pity that the moment the countless blue sword auras touched the fire lotus, it was annihilated by the dancing crimson flames, leaving behind only a trace of a blue phantom after it had dissipated. After the fire lotuses annihilated all the energy of the blue petals, it didn't disappear, and instead, the flowers converged and condensed, eventually turning into a captivating, majestic fire lotus that slowly bloomed in the air. Go! Lu Muyen said coldly. As her voice fell, the fire lotus spun around, and like a meteor, passed by, directly heading towards Yi Nuo. After Inua's condensed sword aura petals were obliterated by Lu Mu Yan's fire lotus, the calm and arrogant look in her eyes suddenly changed. She quickly mobilized her Bodis elemental energy and formed hand seals, attempting to launch a counterattack. Except she only just finished her Taoist seal, but the fire lotus that Lu Mu Yan had condensed landed above her head. Inua's face paled, gritted her teeth, poured her entire Bodis elemental energy into her long sword, and struck at the fire lotus with all her might. A blue sword aura flew out like a whirlwind, directly across the blooming fire lotus. The fire lotus suddenly split apart after the sword aura landed, as if it was defeated. Inua's pale face revealed an arrogant smile. Her E-clan sword skills weren't something that was easy to break. But her smile had yet to fully bloom before it froze on her face. The fire lotus that had split didn't collapse, nor merge, but turned into numerous bright red petals that peeled off the fire lotus, scattering with a majestic beauty from the air. At this time, everyone on the platforms were attracted by the gorgeous and dazzling moves of battle platform number 26. Even the students that were battling unanimously stopped their fights and collectively looked towards the battle platform together. After Lu Mu Yan condensed the blooming fire lotuses, most of the people were shocked. When the lotus petals peeled off and completely resisted Inua's sword aura, many people's jaws dropped, staring at the platform in disbelief. Lotus petals drifted downwards but didn't immediately sink into Inua's body. Instead, they scattered around her in pieces. When she swung her sword to destroy the attack, the petals suddenly closed in on her body, spun around and lifted the person off the floor. The people on the field were dumbfounded. How could this be possible? Fire elemental energy condensation could change state at will? Their eyes weren't blurred, right? Slight horror rose on Inua's face. Her body was held up by the flaming lotus petals, and even when she wanted to counter, the elemental energy in her body felt as if it was locked by something, unable to use, and she wasn't able to move either. The lotus petals hovered and flew, supporting Inua's body over the battle platform. Everyone's eyes moved closely with Inua's body, and they couldn't think of what Lu Mu Yan wanted to do. Lu Mu Yan smiled slightly, stretched out her right hand and snapped her fingers. Then the falling lotus petals immediately turned into wisps of fire that wrapped around Inua. The piercing pain went deep into her bones, and Inua couldn't help but let out a shriek of pain. Everyone watching the battle saw Inua's whole body wrapped in a blinding red light, as she convulsing and twitched within while her screams resounded. It made their scalp feel numb. Come and read on our website Wuxiao World site. Thanks. The referee's pupils constricted, coughed lightly, then looked at Lu Mu Yan and said, "You can't take one's life during the grand competition. Put her down quickly, you won this battle. Just letting her suffer a little, it won't harm her life." Lu Mu Yan's eyes flashed with fierceness and questioned the referee sharply, "Has she been beaten out of the battle platform? Did she take the initiative to give up?" "No." The referee replied with an unhappy expression. Lu Mu Yan smiled beautifully, with her expression faintly carrying a sense of evil. "Then why should I put her down? This competition isn't over yet." Her fire elemental energy condensation was controlled very well, so it wouldn't endanger Inua's life, but the woman had to bear the burning pain of the fire energy, like scraping the bone marrow. Of course, there would definitely be aftereffects. It would probably be impossible for Inua to break through to the strength of a sword monarch in this life. If Inua just talked badly behind her back and merely confronted her a few times, then she wouldn't do this today. But half a year ago, during an outdoor training experience organized by the academy, Inua, under Gu Yanran's instigation, tricked her into the wilderness using Qi Yixian's name, and secretly drove demonic beasts to attack her. She was bitten in numerous places, trampled and accidentally fell off a cliff. It was a miracle she was able to escape and survive. It was just that the former Lu Mu Yan was afraid that Qi Yixian would be involved in this matter, so when her family found her, she only said that she accidentally provoked a group of demonic beasts. Otherwise, with the Lu clan's protectiveness, the Yi clan and Inua would have long been taken care of. As if Inua could have been free for so long. Lu Mu Yan admitted that although she acted cold, but she never took the initiative to kill people. Behaviors like those of Inua and Gu Yenran's, however, were unbearable to her. The grudges they forged couldn't be described as deep, but the two girls constantly wanted to put her to death, so don't blame her for being cruel. Inua's miserable screams didn't stop. Then she screamed as she sobbed. She couldn't stand it anymore. She had never experienced such pain. It was worse than death. She didn't dare anymore. She didn't dare provoke Lu Mu Yen anymore. Inua, does this feel good? Lu Mu Yen snapped her fingers again and the flames that enveloped Inua retreated, leaving only 4 wisps around her hands and feet. The tears in Inua's eyes streamed down ceaselessly. She bit her lower lip and shook her head, wanting to surrender, yet she simply couldn't speak. Uncomfortable? Lu Mu Yen sneered. Today is just to repay the grievance that I experienced from you when you lured me into the group of demonic beasts and almost killed me. Remember this. If you dare provoke me again next time, I will definitely make your life worse than death by numerous fold. She always believed that the best revenge against her enemy wasn't to let her die, but to let her live worse than death. Hearing Lu Mu Yan's voice that wasn't quite loud nor soft, some of those that felt that she was too cruel and ruthless suddenly understood. So it was because Inua once tried to entrap Lu Mu Yen. No wonder she would use this method to punish her today. The few people who had previously competed against Lu Mu Yen all winced, feeling a sense of lingering fear. It appeared that Lu Mu Yen was truly merciful towards them before. Luckily they didn't offend Lu Mu Yen, otherwise if they ended up like the tragic stage Inua was in right now, who couldn't beg to live, yet also couldn't beg to die, just thinking about it made them feel terrified and numb in the heads. Gu Yenran was also shocked by the battle between the two. Although she and Inua weren't in the same Earth class, but they usually had a good relationship. At the same time, they feared each other, because their strengths were rather similar. But right now Inua was trapped by Lu Mu Yen and suffered inhumane torture. It would be a lie if she said she wasn't guilty of anything. She stared at Lu Mu Yen angrily, touched the silver bangle on her hand, and suppressed the panic in her heart. She wasn't Inua. She still had a trump card. She didn't have to fear Lu Mu Yen at all. Remembering her trump card, she gradually stabilized her mind, and the hostility in her eyes grew thicker. She would definitely win, definitely. Chapter 51. Grand competition. Foreseeing that the time was almost up, with a thought, Lu Mu Yen allowed the wisps of flames that entwined around Inua's limbs to slowly leave her body. While in extreme pain, Inua discovered that she could suddenly speak, and immediately choked up, begging, I admit defeat. Hearing Inua's stuttering, the referee on the stage instantly sighed with relief. Just as he was about to announce Lu Mu Yan's victory, he saw Lu Mu Yen gently wave her sleeve, and the condensed elemental energy flames that entangled Inua threw her out of the battle platform and let her fall heavily onto the ground. Teacher referee, are you not going to judge? Lu Mu Yen raised her head slightly and looked at the referee, asking. The referee on battle platform number 26 was taken aback, then immediately announced, the winner of the last match is Lu Mu Yen. He was truly dissatisfied by Lu Mu Yan's actions before, but he gradually calmed after hearing that she was almost killed. Regardless of who, if they were tricked like that, they'd also feel unfair and retaliate. Now it also seemed that Lu Mu Yen indeed didn't hurt Inua's life and didn't break the rules, so it was only natural she won. In a world where the strong was respected, as long as one had strength, one could win respect. The fact that Lu Mu Yen won Inua and could condense fire attribute elemental energy was considered strength. Even if she was once famous as trash, but after today her title of trash would be completely removed. Wow! After the referee announced the result, the students in the audience couldn't help but start an uproar. What did they see? Lu Mu Yen actually used her condensed fire elemental energy to completely defeat Inua's condensed sword aura. The competition just now was like watching a beautiful performance. The blue petals, the delicate and charming fire lotus, the miserable shrieks, it all truly stimulated them. I didn't see wrong, did I? Is that person really Lu Mu Yen? The classmate who watched Lu Mu Yen from the side seats couldn't help but push the person next to him, still unable to believe what he saw just now. The person beside him also rubbed his eyes and nodded blankly. That's definitely Lu Mu Yen, who knew that after she eradicated her terminal meridian's constitution, she'd become this powerful. A trash like Lu Mu Yen actually defeated Inua. It's simply unbelievable. You're trash. If Lu Mu Yan's trash now, then aren't we even worse than trash? No wonder she dared to promise a fight with Gu Yenran. With such strength, she's qualified to compete for the last spot in the Earth class. Say, who do you guys think will win, her or Gu Yenran? I still support Gu Yenran. I'm actually more optimistic about Lu Mu Yen now. I like her ruthlessness. It's better for a woman to be as gentle as water like Gu Yenran. Who dares to want a woman like Lu Mu Yen? Tisk, what's so good about being gentle like water? It's better to be wild. The students' discussions surged one wave after the other, and although it was unbelievable, but seeing was believing. They all saw Lu Mu Yan's current strength, and she deserved their high regards. Some people that were originally optimistic about Gu Yenran in regard to their battle now couldn't help but tilt their balance towards Lu Mu Yen. Qi Yixian stared with a fierce desire at the gorgeous purple figure on the battle platform, and that calm heart that had settled started rippling as if a stone had been thrown into a calm, deep pond. And that stone was the woman he once abandoned. Ha, congratulations, Marshal, your family's little girl sure hid herself very well. Yun Tianchen packed away the emotions in his eyes, lifted his head and congratulated Lu Zhantian with a smile. I thank your majesty for the praise. My family's Yener is naturally good. Lu Zhantian was in a very comfortable mood, and he was exceptionally delighted. His family's little girl had finally grown up. Come and read on our website Wuxiao World site. Thanks Guyuan Kai, who sat beside them, smiled somewhat reluctantly. Lu Mu Yen had exceeded their expectations. It seemed she couldn't be left alive. Yun Tianzong's expression was as dark as ink. He and Guyuan Kai exchanged a secret look, and both saw the killing intent in each other's eyes. One Lu Mu Bai already caused them headaches, and now another Lu Mu Yen came out. Just how lucky were the Lu clan? How unexpected, how unexpected. Xiao Ziong stretched out his hand and pinched his arm. He immediately let go in pain. It seemed that what he saw just now wasn't an illusion. Mu Ting, your younger sister sure hid it all very well. It's only been a short while from the time she eradicated her terminal meridian's constitution and started cultivating, until now. To think she could condense fire elemental energy, what an abnormality. Xiao Ziong patted Lu Mu Ting's shoulder, then glanced at Lu Mu Bai in his peripheral vision. It truly was like elder brother, like younger sister one. My little sister's talent is of course exceptional. Even am ashamed of my inadequacy, so you really don't need to be jealous and envious. Lu Mu Ting's lips raised. Even he didn't expect that his younger sister would become so powerful in such a short time, so the excitement couldn't be calmed for a long time. Yun Lan's gaze had been focused on the calm, purple figure on the battle platform, and there was an inexpressible joy in his heart. The worried look in Yun Jin's eyes was replaced by surprise. He just knew that the girl wouldn't be defeated so easily. The self-confident and indifferent temperament attracted his attention more and more, and she was even more interesting now. Lu Mu Bei's cold black eyes were dyed with a bright color and his lips were slightly curled. His family's little girl hadn't even used her all yet. Lu Mo Yu let go of his tightly clenched hands. His treasured daughter truly acted upon what she was determined to do, hacking through brambles and thorns too, taking a large step towards the road of the strong. I remember that the Lu clan's little girl and Gu clan's little girl had promised a battle before the grand competition. I wonder who'll obtain the only place of the Earth class. The Prime Minister turned his head and glanced at Lu Zhantian and Guyuan Kai, as if joking around. Guyuan Kai smiled softly and replied humbly, although Yen Ran's talent isn't bad, but it really is hard to predict the outcome against the current young Miss Lu. However, in his heart, he firmly believed that his daughter would win. After all, that trump card was given to her by him. Lu Zhantian raised his eyebrow with a look of pride and said naturally, "Of course my family's Yenner would get the last spot. His granddaughter was the best. How could a small thing like Gu Yenran compare to his family's Yenner?" Hearing Lu Zhantian's words, the surrounding officials couldn't help but twitch the corners of their mouths. This old thing sure wasn't humble. If Lu Muyen was defeated by Gu Yenran afterwards, they'll see where hell placed that old face of his three. A cloud of haze quickly crossed Gu Yuankai's eyes. This damned old man truly talked big. So what if Lu Muyen defeated Yi Nuo? In front of his daughter, she would always be foil. Had just wait and watch when Lu Zhantian slapped his own face for. After that, Lu Muyen and Gu Yenran continued to draw lots and compete, but coincidentally, they weren't paired up. After 4 more rounds, both of them defeated their opponents and advanced to the finals. And this time, even if there wasn't any promised battle, the two people who were like water and fire would inevitably meet and participate in the final competition, competing for the only trial quota for the Earth class. After resting for nearly an hour, the Heaven class battle also came to an end. Qi Yixian lived up to the expectations and won the first place in the Heaven class between the new students, and directly received a place in the trials. Because of the larger number of people in the Earth class, when Lu Muyen and Gu Yenran began their final battle, the competitions in the surrounding battle platforms had all ended. But none of the students left after the battle as they all sat in the audience seats, eagerly waiting. They wanted to see just who would win the final trial quota, the former number 1 trash of the academy, or Gu Yenran, who was secretly judged by them as the Earth class number 1 student amongst the new students. 1 play on like father like son idiom. 2 idiom meaning to go though many difficulties. 3 if she loses, hell naturally lose face, so it's a play on words. If she lost, then they look forward to his reaction after losing his face. For figuratively, not literally. On the only battle platform currently in use, Lu Muyen stood with indifference and calmness, while Gu Yenran stood opposite her with a cyan longsword in her hand. In this world, cultivators were all called sword masters, so naturally, as sword masters, the spirit tools they used were related to the sword. The colors of the swords with different attributes were also different. For example, Gu Yenran held a cyan longsword, which meant that the elemental energy she comprehended was the wind attribute. Lu Muyen had a longsword before, but it wasn't suitable for her, so she wanted to refine her own natal magic treasure after reaching foundation establishment stage. If she was given a choice, then she would definitely only choose the one that suited her best. If it wasn't to her liking, then she'd rather fight with bare hands. Lu Muyen, even if you aren't trash, I'll still defeat you today. Gu Yenran wore pink clothes, with a deliberate expression of softness and beauty, but the hidden cruelty in her eyes destroyed the gracefulness and softness quite a bit. Lu Muyen sneered, "Winning or losing isn't determined by talking about it. Yi Nuo screamed louder than you, but what ending did she have? I'm different to Yi Nuo." Seeing Lu Muyen's indifferent look that didn't regard her highly, Gu Yenran wanted desperately to go up and tear apart that face that was more beautiful than hers. "You two are indeed different, so the gift I'll give you won't be worse than Yi Nuo's." Lu Muyen chuckled softly, and her beautiful eyes revealed a sense of anticipation. It had been a long time since she had a good fight. She hoped Gu Yenran wouldn't let her down. Gu Yenran clenched the long sword in her hand tighter, but she deliberately spoke with tenderness, pretending to be generous, saying, "Lu Muyen, I didn't want to hurt you, but you forced me today. You can stop being noisy with that disgustingly sweet voice. If you want to fight, then let's fight. If you don't want to fight, then get lost." It wasn't that Lu Muyen didn't like delicate and beautiful women, but she really couldn't appreciate Gu Yenran's fake delicateness. "You're courting death." Gu Yenran no longer pretended. Against such a person like Lu Muyen who didn't play by the rules, nor understood what gentleness was, Gu Yenran was also helpless. It was like punching cotton, she just wanted to vent even more. Gu Yenran's cultivation base was already at peak phase Great Sword Master stage. With one fortuitous opportunity, she could break through to Sword Spirit. In addition, her talent was indeed superior, That's why she was called the #1 person in the Earth class. She channeled wind attribute elemental energy to her foot, and her body instantly lightened. Using the wind attribute, she flew into the air and looked down at Lu Mu Yen. She admitted that Lu Mu Yan's fire element condensation was indeed powerful, but she had long prepared ahead. As long as she could beat Lu Mu Yen in speed, then it'd be difficult for the condensed fire lotus to hurt her. Lu Mu Yan's battle experience was far more abundant than anyone present, so she naturally saw through Gu Yenran's plans. A faint expression of ridicule rose on her lips. She didn't only know how to use fire elemental energy condensation. Wind blade go. Gu Yenran quietly condensed the wind element attack the moment the referee announced the start of the battle. At this moment, she applied the wind energy on her Cyan longsword, and with a strong wave of her hand, numerous sword aura wind blades, glowing cyan, flew in Lu Mu Yan's direction. Nua had comprehended the ice attribute elemental energy, so Lu Mu Yan's fire attribute elemental energy perfectly suppressed it, but it wouldn't have any effect on her wind attribute. Lu Mu Yan didn't take out any spirit tools, and only stood on the spot, looking up to watch the groups of cyan light attack her. Did Lu Mu Yan become an idiot? Why isn't she moving? Someone in the audience below asked the person beside them upon seeing Lu Mu Yan still standing in her original position, with the same posture, and without any intentions of retaliating. The person beside also looked up at the upright and elegant purple figure on the platform. Just keep watching and well know. Everyone couldn't figure out why Lu Mu Yan didn't make a move. Could it be that Gu Yenran's wind blade frightened her? But that didn't seem likely. Come and read on our website Wuxiao World site. Thanks, but before the people on the stands could react, the masses of wind blades fell on her. Someone had been too focused and couldn't help yelling when the wind blades landed on Lu Mu Yan. But the scream only just rose when their mouth immediately shut and stared at the battle platform blankly. All everyone saw were the wind blades passing through Lu Mu Yan's body, but when the wind blade's energy landed on one of the corners of the battle platform, Lu Mu Yan's figure on the battle platform had disappeared. How's that possible? The slight pride in Gu Yenran's expression changed. How could Lu Mu Yan escape her wind blade? Where is she? Here. Lu Mu Yan's figure suddenly appeared in midair behind Gu Yenran, stretched out her hand and lightly struck Gu Yenran's left shoulder. Gu Yenran's pupils constricted, but she was too late to guard herself. Pain struck her left shoulder, as if something was corroding it, and she stumbled back. If it weren't for the wind attribute elemental energy support beneath her feet, she would have fallen to the ground. How fast? With Yunjin's cultivation base and eyesight, he could naturally see that the wind blade didn't hit Lu Mu Yan at all, but was instead quickly avoided by her. But even he could only barely see the afterimages flashing a few times before vanishing, and the next thing he knew, he discovered Lu Mu Yan appearing behind Gu Yenran. Lu Mu Yan, you dare to sneak an attack on me? Gu Yenran's expression darkened, and her left shoulder suddenly felt extreme pain. Lu Mu Yan raised an eyebrow. There's no such thing as a sneak attack on the battlefield. It's because you're inferior to others. Gu Yenran glared at Lu Mu Yan and quickly tapped the acupoints on her left shoulder to relieve the pain. There was irritability in her heart, and she channeled wave after wave of elemental energy into her Cyan longsword. The Cyan longsword in her hand made a buzzing sound and spontaneously flew before Lu Mu Yan, stopping her from her plan to advance. Then the longsword immediately scattered, transforming into 10 phantoms that surrounded Lu Mu Yan. Now this is slightly interesting. Lu Mu Yan casually glanced at the 10 wind attribute sword auras. Gu Yenran's sword aura couldn't condense, but this was a prototype of a sword array composed by sword auras. Kill! With Gu Yenran's low growl, the 10 sword auras instantly leveled out flat and pierced towards Lu Mu Yan. Lu Mu Yan sneered, then used her flash step to maneuver incessantly in the air. Her ring hand wasn't idle either, as she flexibly drew a talisman in the air. Those 10 sword auras kept chasing her footsteps, and while she was extremely fast, the moment she dodged one, the other 9 immediately followed. The sword aura brushed past her relentlessly. As she kept waving her fingers in the air, Chains of yellow characters leapt out and reflected in the eyes of the audience. Break! Lu Mu Yen stopped drawing talismans in the void, her red lips slightly opened, the break character crept out of her mouth, and immediately blended in with the yellow talisman incantation in the sky. The translucent yellow talisman incantation rose in the air and gradually grew larger. When it turned into a giant talisman incantation, it slammed downwards, destroying the 10 sword auras that surrounded her with much ease, like crushing dry weeds and smashing rotten wood. After the sword aura collapsed, she joined 2 fingers together on her right hand, drew a few circles in front of her, and before the yellow talisman incantations disappeared, they suddenly became the size of a palm and shot towards Gu Yenran at lightning speed. Gu Yenran's expression changed, quickly took out a spirit tool to guard her chest, but the yellow talisman incantation directly penetrated the shield spirit tool and instantly entered her body. An idiom meaning it was easy. Chapter 53, Tier 4 Spirit Pet, Drawing Talismans in the Void. It's actually drawing talismans in the void. Ruan Li and the other superiors of the Empire couldn't help but exclaim when they saw the yellow talisman incantations that could change size freely and destroy Gu Yenran's sword aura. The spiritual force that fluctuated on that void talisman is so pure. Ruan Li narrowed his eyes as it gleamed brightly. The little girl of the Lu clan sure hid herself well. An old man in a sackcloth garment sitting beside Ruan Li couldn't help but sigh. She truly was a person who normally performed with average results, but would then amaze the world with a single feat. Ruan Yang couldn't help but praise, "Good seedling. I'm afraid this talent even surpasses her eldest brother Lu Mu Bai. If such a good seedling could formally recognize him as her master, then that would be even better. No wonder it's been rumored that those who have the terminal meridian's constitution are actually exceptionally talented, but because they were limited by their terminal meridian's constitution, it became a burden on them. Now that Lu Mu Yen eradicated her terminal meridian's constitution, then her hidden, excelling talent could be revealed. Our Imperial Academy can't let go of such a talent." The sackcloth old man lowered his head and whispered to Ruan Li. I've reallocated Lu Mu Yan's resources. As long as she can successfully defeat Gu Yenran and obtain the trial quota, she'll be rewarded with it together with the rest of her rewards." Ruan Li nodded in understanding. Not to mention Lu Mu Yan's excelling talent that she demonstrated today, just based on the fact that she had talent in alchemy alone, she was worthy of them to raise her with all their heart. Meanwhile, the colors on the faces of the Imperial family changed dramatically. Yun Tianchen rubbed his thumb ring with his fingers firmly. The talent and strength Lu Mu Yen demonstrated today exceeded their expectations. It seemed that after he returned, he must find the Imperial teacher to discuss and reconsider the strategy of winning her over. "General Lu, it truly is with a father that's a tiger, the daughter cannot be a dog too." An official beside Lu Mou smiled and praised. Immediately after, the voices that praised Lu Mu Yen resounded incessantly, and Lu Mou accepted them one by one with a calm smile. Everyone in the Lu family had amazing talents. Before, there was a trash with a terminal meridian's constitution that dragged the family down, but now that the trash suddenly had talent that's comparable to a genius, it truly was enviable. This time Lu Mu Yen and Gu Yenran's battle had little suspense. The foundation of the Lu clan simply wasn't something a new clan like the Gu clan, who relied on wealth to gain status as a distinguished family, could compare to. Yun Lan and the rest had seen Lu Mu Yen use drawing talismans in the void before, so the amazement in their heart wasn't as great as the others, but their burning gazes couldn't help but lock onto the purple-clothed woman on the battle platform. On the battle platform, Gu Yenran discovered that the yellow talisman incantation that carried thick spiritual force suppressed her dantian, so she couldn't convert spiritual force into elemental energy at all. Her heart constricted. Horror filled her eyes as she held the cyan longsword in her hand tightly, but she could no longer channel any trace of elemental energy into the sword. She looked up at Lu Mu Yen angrily and shouted, "Lu Mu Yen, what did you do to me? You're too dirty. Isn't the word dirty written on your own face?" Lu Mu Yen shrugged and said with a look of disgust, Ugly people will do all kinds of strange things to gain attention. 3. Gu Yenran, your ability to put the blame on the victim is much stronger than your strength. Could. Gu Yenran smiled in anger. She knew that this trash wouldn't dispel the talisman incantation in her body, and a sliver of coldness and viciousness flashed in her eyes as she stared at Lu Mu Yen like a venomous snake. Lu Mu Yen, it's you who forced me. Lu Mu Yen's eyes focused. She had felt that Gu Yenran would have a strong trump card. It seemed that this woman couldn't help but make a move now. Unsurprisingly, although Gu Yenran's dantian was blocked and she couldn't use elemental energy, but she channeled a trace of mental energy into the silver bangle on her wrist. Come out, lightning leopard. As soon as Gu Yenran's words fell, a mighty leopard that was more than 1 meter long appeared on the battlefield. Its eyes swept the place coldly, and some with a low cultivation base couldn't help but shudder. A Tier 4 lightning leopard demonic beast. Gu Yenran actually has a Tier 4 spirit pet. Someone on the stands couldn't help but exclaim. Come and read on our website Wuxiao World site. Thanks, this time I'll be miserable for Lu Mu Yen. I thought she was going to win just now, but who knew Gu Yenran had held back a trick? Very good. Yeah, I've said it before, Gu Yenran's more likely to win, looks like I'm right. Lu Mu Yen versus a Tier 4 spirit pet that's as powerful as a sword spirit, it's only a matter of time before she loses. The voices of several people were filled with gloating and jealousy. Compared to Gu Yenran, who had always been excellent, many of them felt unhappy that Lu Mu Yen became someone so bright, with a temperament and strength that they couldn't match, from a trash they always belittled. They all hoped Lu Mu Yen would lose. The distinguished guests saw Lu Zhantian's expression collapse, and Lu Mo's brows furrowed. They also didn't think that Gu Yenran actually had such a trump card, and their hearts hovered. Yun Lan and the others also revealed a worried look. The spirit pet that Gu Yenran released wasn't only a Tier 4 demonic beast, but a middle phase Tier 4 demonic beast, which was equivalent to the strength of a middle phase sword spirit, not to mention even when a human and a demonic beast were on the same level, the demonic beast's defense was better than humans, so Lu Mu Yen would suffer a lot from the battle. According to the rules of the competition, a spirit pet was also a part of the student's combat power, and therefore was not restricted to use. Even if the spirit pet's power was stronger than the opponent's by numerous levels, it wasn't breaking the rules. Ha! Looking at the sudden turn of the battle, Yun Tianzong laughed and said to Gu Yuan Kai beside him, Old Gu, your family's Yen Ran sure hid her abilities deeply. She actually has a Tier 4 spirit pet. Although there were spirit beast masters who could tame demonic beasts and help sword masters contract spirit pets on Tianling continent, but spirit beast masters were too scarce, and if one wanted to ask them for help, the price to be paid was extremely high. As expected from the Gu clan, who was Yenzhou country's richest, this amount of money wasn't something an average distinguished clan could afford. You flatter me. Compared to young Miss Lu, my family's Yen Ran is still far behind. Gu Yuan Kai smiled modestly, but with a sarcastic tone, and the triumph in his eyes wasn't hidden. So what if the Lu clan was powerful? So what if Lu Mu Yen eradicated her terminal meridian's constitution and was no longer trash? His eldest daughter could suppress the empress in the palace. Now his younger daughter could naturally ruin Lu Mu Yen. Yun Tianzong sneered. True, young Miss Lu is indeed amazing. They'll just see how she defeats that Tier 4 spirit pet, don't be beaten up badly and end up ugly crying with tears and snot, then surrendering. Shut your beak, you've got no right to talk about our family's Yenner like that. Lu Mo's elegant face carried a sense of coldness. The royal officials that sat nearby didn't expect Lu Mo would directly snap back at the king of Jinshi and couldn't help but cast sympathetic glances at Yun Tianzong. Lu Mo was usually elegant and refined towards others, but if he was truly angered, he would be exceptionally frightening. Lu Mo, do you dare try to say that again? Yun Tianzong had never liked Lu Mo. It wasn't just that his prestige in the army was higher than himself, but his strength and combat power was also all above him. However, even if he was afraid of Lu Mo right now, he still wouldn't want to lose face in front of everyone. Shut up. Yun Tianchen suddenly turned his head and glared at Yun Tianzong. This younger brother of his truly was getting more and more arrogant. It truly was time to beat him down a little. Humph. Yun Tianzong snorted coldly, but stopped speaking. The blue veins in his clenched hands were popping, and he swallowed his anger. Right now wasn't the time to fall out with Yun Tianchen yet. When that plan succeeded, he would definitely crush Yun Tianchen and Lu Mou into pieces. Not only did Yun Tianzong bear killing intent towards the two of them, Lu Mou lowered his eyes and also hid his killing intent. One an idiom, but with an addition at the beginning. Is the idiom, which means to amaze the world with a single feat, is an addition to that at the beginning, which means that one was normally very average in performance. To play on the idiom with a father that's a tiger, the son cannot be a dog. Figuratively, it means that with a powerful father such as them, the son, daughter in this case, is sure to not be inferior. Also like father, like son. 3 an idiom, and clearly to ridicule. Chapter 54. The most simplistic and crude battle on the battle platform. Because Gu Yanran's Dantian was sealed, the wind elemental energy beneath her feet couldn't be replenished, so it soon vanished. She fell onto the corner of the battle platform, her eyes dyed with cruelty. She hugged her hands and gave orders to the lightning leopard to attack Lu Muyen. Lightning leopard, tear apart the face of the woman opposite and destroy her Danton for me. Gu Yanran's bitter voice sounded in the lightning leopard's demonic sea of consciousness. The fact that the Dantian in her body was sealed by Lu Muyen wasn't too worrying. She believed that once she returned to the Gu clan and found an elder with a higher cultivation base than Lu Muyen, then she could expel the yellow talisman incantation. But she wouldn't let Lu Muyen off. She couldn't let this woman shine. She wanted the lightning leopard to completely destroy Lu Muyen's Dantian and let her become trash again, so that even with the marrow cleansing pill, it couldn't change anything. After hearing its owner's command, the lightning leopard's fur immediately stood on its end. It bared its teeth and growled at Lu Muyen. Lu Muyen's eyes not only didn't show fear, but faintly displayed some anticipation. It had been a long time since she had a good fight. In her previous life, she had obtained a set of sky-rank body refining manual that an almighty cultivator of the immortal cultivation world left behind, describing how to refine the body like demonic beasts. Once the skill was successfully learnt, the hardness of one's body would rival a true spirit cultivator one. After taking the marrow cleansing pill to eradicate her terminal meridian's constitution and start cultivating, she immediately began to recultivate that body refining skill. Compared to long-range technique attacks, she actually preferred the most simplistic and crude ways of combat methods. With the experience of her previous life and her current exceptional talent, she quickly finished cultivating the first layer of the skill. The hardness of her body could now barely compete with a Tier 4 demonic beast. Now that there was a live target for her to practice her hands on, why not? Roar! The Tier 4 lightning leopard already bore intelligence. Looking at the human's roused battle intent also slowly ignited in its eyes. It desired to vent its anger and hatred for being forced by a spirit beastmaster to contract a low-level human who was even weaker than itself on her. Lu Muyen exercised her fists, and her crystal-clear, clever eyes were filled with brightness. Come on. Let me learn how powerful a middle-phase Tier 4 demonic beast is. Roar! Being belittled by a human was the greatest humiliation possible to him. The lightning leopard gathered all the pressure it could muster to suppress the human, roared, kicked its hind legs, leapt up, and swung its sharp front claws towards Lu Muyen. Lu Muyen used her flash steps to maneuver around the lightning leopard's claws. No matter how those lightning-fast claws landed, they couldn't even touch half the corner of her clothes. Roar, roar! The lightning leopard roared, and he utilized the power of its demonic energy, increasing its speed several times. The damned human actually had a speed that was no weaker than itself. It must tear her apart after catching her. Lu Muyen's eyes sharpened, and the wind attribute elemental energy surreptitiously gathered beneath her feet, instantly rising the speed of her flash steps. avoiding the lightning leopard's attacks with extreme speed. The people in the audience couldn't see the movements of the two at all, and could only see the phantoms that flashed on the ground or in the air from time to time. What? Lu Mu Yen can evade the attack of a Tier 4 demonic beast? Isn't the speed a bit too fast? The students on the stands were dumbfounded. To be able to use such a speed that wasn't inferior to a demonic beast with power comparable to the sword spirit stage, was this really Lu Mu Yen? What sort of skill did she cultivate? A sword king beside Ruanli revealed a hint of burning desire. Ruanli also had curiosity in his eyes. I don't know, but it should be a speed-based auxiliary skill. Probably given to her by that expert master of hers. Come and read on our website Wuxiao World site. Thanks aside from the expert behind Lu Mu Yen, he couldn't think of how else she received this skill. After all, the Lu clan had never used any skills that was speed-based in all these years. Mentioning the expert behind Lu Mu Yen, the rest of the people also came to understand. To be able to refine a miraculous pill like the marrow cleansing pill, having a few high-level manuals on hand didn't seem unnatural. Originally, there were some sword masters who had their thoughts on the manual with a burning desire to obtain it, but now felt as if someone poured cold water on them and could only give up unwillingly. Lu Mu Yen, who was currently battling the demonic beast on the stage to her heart's content, didn't know that the master she had casually made up helped her reduce some trouble again. Otherwise, there would have been many who desired her flash step manual. Emperor Yun Tianchen found that it was harder and harder to see through Lu Mu Yen. How did the little woman that used to have no schemer's heart, and was pure to a point she was even somewhat ignorant, become so cunning and capable? Gu Yuan Kai had a stern look in his eyes. He didn't expect the result to be like this. Right now, he could only wait for the result. The Lu clan already had one number one genius of the empire. He sure didn't want to see the Lu clan add another swordmaster with huge potential. No matter what, Lu Mu Yen couldn't be left alive. After the lightning leopard's claw attacks failed time and again, it was completely angered, raised its head, and roared again, roar roar. Lu Mu Yen narrowed her eyes. The provocation only just started, yet it was angry already? Gu Yenran's spirit pet sure was the same as her, both inferior. It wasn't fun at all. Taking the moment the lightning leopard stopped to roar, she applied a layer of fire attribute elemental energy on her fist, tapped her toe, flew up, and initiated the attack against the lightning leopard. Is Lu Mu Yen crazy? She's not avoiding it, but actually started to attack it? Xiao Ziong exclaimed. Except, the moment his voice fell, and before the others could reply, all they saw was Lu Mu Yen having approached the lightning leopard with only a foot's distance between them, and directly slam her fist onto the left side of the lightning leopard's back. Boom! Lu Mu Yen's punch that composed of a violent elemental energy fell on the lightning leopard's body just like that. Unprepared, it was blasted against a stone pillar on the battle platform, followed by a few echoes of destruction. The lightning leopard jumped up from the falling rock that buried it after the stone pillar shattered, and a strong fighting intent was aroused by Lu Mu Yen. It belittled this woman too much before, and now put away its contempt. It would make her pay for the price of the attack she initiated. Roar! The lightning leopard roared again. As it leapt up, it used its body to slam towards Lu Mu Yen. Lu Mu Yen chuckled lightly, and the fighting intent in her eyes grew thicker and thicker. A Tier 4 demonic beast was indeed not to be underestimated. If it were a sword master that took on that punch, then they would probably already be severely injured. She was fearless, and even revealed excitement on her face. She clenched her fists and immediately went up to greet it. Suddenly on the battle platform, all one saw was Lu Mu Yen punch time and again, with numerous fists landing on the lightning leopard's body. The lightning leopard wasn't idle either. While avoiding Lu Mu Yen's punch, it also wrapped its claws with demonic energy and directly faced the fists that made its skin feel as if it were burning. Bang bang! As such, one person and one beast launched the most primitive and simplistic battle against each other. A punch here, a claw there, another attack elsewhere. Lu Mu Yen flashed about in the air endlessly, dodging the demonic beast's claw attacks one by one. And every time she dodged, she would swing a fist with fiery energy onto the lightning leopard's body, specifically targeting the lightning leopard's weak spots, and every time she could knock it flying. What everyone simply saw now on the battle platform was a purple-clothed woman with peerless beauty and elegance, brutally and simplistically bombard the Tier 4 lightning leopard that was famous for its speed. The lightning leopard had even retracted its claws and used its entire body to withstand Lu Mu Yan's attacks, yet it was still in a disadvantageous position. Many people wondered if they were seeing things. Numerous creases formed on some people's foreheads as they furrowed their brows. Lu Mu Yan, was it really good for you to be so violent like this? One if people still remember, this is a cultivation stage in her previous world. Basically super strong and many stages above her right now. Chapter 55. What was there to fear? Lu Mu Yan and the lightning leopard fought for around an incense stick of time, then she felt bored and decided to end the battle. This Tier 4 demonic beast was domesticated too early by a spirit beastmaster, so its wildness could no longer compare to the other demonic beasts in the wild that had spent their lives in a world where the weak became food to the strong. In fact, its strength was still much inferior to that of a middle-phase sword spirit. Lu Mu Yan's eyes sharpened when the lightning leopard pounced towards her again. Her jade-like hands gestured a few times and a solid fire elemental energy condensation Taoist seal danced in the palm of her hand. When the lightning leopard was close, she lightly tapped her toes, flashed by the lightning leopard's side, then pushed the Taoist seal in her hand directly into the lightning leopard's body. Roar! All the lightning leopard could feel were its internal organs and Yaofu 1 burning as if ignited by flames. It fell from the sky, its expression pained as its body twitched uncontrollably. Lu Mu Yan's eyes were cold. Every attack of this demonic beast headed for her face and her dantian. Not only did it want to destroy her face, but it also wanted to take the opportunity to destroy her dantian. Even if it was instructed to do so by Gu Yanran, it was still unforgivable. Every time they clashed, she had already used her fire elemental energy to draw talismans and hit the talisman into the lightning leopard's body. She could kill it given an opportunity. Except the Academy had stipulated that during the grand competition, they couldn't harm one's life, so she changed it to destroying its Yaofu and completely turn it into a trash beast. The Yaofu of a demonic beast was similar to the human's dantian. The spiritual force too absorbed by the demonic beast was required to go through the Yaofu to be converted into demonic energy. That's why demonic beasts with a destroyed Yaofu would become no different to any other wild beast. What? The people on the stands were dumbfounded. Lu Mu Yan actually defeated a Tier 4 demonic beast. I'm not seeing things right? My heavens! Lu Mu Yan's so violent, I like it so much. A male student rubbed his eyes and revealed his admiration. Yeah. As expected, a bow tie's a beauty, even when they're so violent they're so charming. This was how it was in a world where strength was respected. Without strength, no matter how strong one's family background was or how beautiful one was, one would always be looked down upon by others and crowned with the title of trash. If one's strength was recognized by the public, then the hearts of the people would change as well, and one would win the respect of others. Well, fuck 3, Lu Mu Yan, this tigress is too violent. Xiao Ziong stared at Lu Mu Yan with a look of excitement on his face. Following his exclamation, his shoulder was greeted with a slap from Lu Mu Ting. You're the tigress, your entire family are tigresses. My little sister's such a likable beauty, how's she a tigress? Lu Mu Bai also turned his head and glanced at Xiao Ziong faintly, his eyes filled with evident unhappiness. Yun Lan also looked at him unhappily and said disapprovingly, cousin simply has an honest temperament, take good care of that mouth of yours. Xiao Ziong shrank his neck into his shoulders. It was just a slip of the tongue. He looked at Yun Luo, aggrieved, begging for help, but seeing he also had an expression of disapproval, he instantly deflated and smiled awkwardly. Joking. Lu Mu Yan defeating the Tier 4 demonic beast made everyone in the audience seats, including the distinguished guests, completely stunned. Not only did she fight across levels, but her speed was also so fast. Just how much strength did she hide? Lu Mu Yen, what did you do to the lightning leopard? Gu Yenran suddenly felt that the connection between her and lightning leopard was gradually weakening. Seeing her spirit pet rolling on the floor in agony, her heart constricted, but anger quickly replaced everything. Lu Mu Yen raised an eyebrow. It's just as you see. You dare injure my spirit pet. Gu Yenran's gloomy gaze ruined that soft and delicate appearance of hers, and now appeared like a colorful, venomous serpent that desired to swallow Lu Mu Yen alive. Lu Mu Yen sneered, Gu Yenran, aren't you thinking too highly of yourself? I don't even care for you, let alone just a spirit pet. If I want to injure, I'll injure. If you can't accept it, then come bite me. Lu Mu Yen, you've really forced me this time. Gu Yenran's face was slightly distorted. Come and read on our website Wuxiao World site. Thanks, she inquired from her elder sister that the trial they would participate in after the grand competition was different from the past. If one won, then the opportunities gained would be 100 times better than what one could obtain from cultivating in the Imperial Academy. So this time she must obtain the only quota. Lu Mu Yan's arched eyebrows furrowed. It seemed that Gu Yenran still had a trick up her sleeves. Whatever tricks you have, just use it. Gu Yenran bit her lower lip, with a grieving appearance as if saying you forced me, then she focused all her energy into the green jade pendant around her neck. An energy that didn't belong to her overflowed from the jade pendant and entered her body. Surprise flashed past Lu Mu Yan's eyes. Gu Yenran actually wanted to borrow someone else's strength. With her strong mental energy, she naturally discovered that there was a hidden power that was sealed in the jade pendant, and it wasn't weak at all. The sealed wind attribute elemental energy penetrated into Gu Yenran's meridians, then finally converged around her dantian, lingering. Due to the yellow seal and control of the talisman incantation, however, the energy couldn't enter her dantian. Gu Yenran clasped the long sword in her hand tightly, and with a thought, she controlled that energy and forcefully shattered the void talisman that Lu Mu Yen drew. Following, the energy plunged into her dantian, swiftly operating. Feeling that the talisman incantation in the dantian was broken, Gu Yenran revealed a gleeful smile. She immediately absorbed the wind attribute elemental energy and transformed it for her own use. Lu Mu Yen knew of it the moment the void talisman shattered. Half hidden beneath her sleeves, she began to perform a few gestures with her hands, waiting for Gu Yenran to make a move. Gradually, an unnatural redness rose on Gu Yenran's small face, and a violent energy surged in her body. What shocked the spectators was that Gu Yenran's cultivation base was steadily rising. She rose from Advanced Phase Great Sword Master to Peak Phase Great Sword Master, then broke through to Initial Phase Sword Spirit, but there wasn't any sign of stopping. Once she broke through to Advanced Phase Sword Spirit, it only stopped because her physique couldn't handle it. Today sure is exciting. Lu Mu Yan's monstrous, but this Gu Yenran also kept revealing her hidden cards. This competition's even more exciting than the Heaven class. Let's continue to watch a good show. I feel that Lu Mu Yan's in danger this time. Gu Yenran's aura this time is much stronger than the lightning leopard before. Lu Mu Yan's in danger now. The battle this time sure was full of twists and turns. The students in the audience were discussing quietly. The strength that the two displayed were both amazing and shocking, so they began to speculate the result of this competition. Currently, more people stood on Gu Yenran's side again. Lu Mu Yen, I think it's more appropriate for you to go back to the trash that you were. Today, let me send you there. Gu Yenran's face was flushed red. It was evident that the energy within her body was a little unbearable for her, but it also brought to her an indescribable sense of excitement. Today, she must beat Lu Mu Yen back to her original shape and let her fall into the dust. There was slight ridicule on Lu Mu Yan's face. Gu Yenran's way of inverting the branch and the root for sure wasn't something she'd agree with. She could feel that the strength Gu Yenran borrowed was extremely invasive. Once the elemental energy dissipated, it would bring great hidden dangers to the body. But this was Gu Yenran's choice. She had never shown kindness towards an enemy before. She initially wanted to try to not break the rules during the competition and secretly disable Gu Yenran, but now she changed her mind. Since Gu Yanran wholeheartedly wanted to turn her back into trash in public, then she naturally would deal with Gu Yanran as she was doing to her. In the face of exceptional strength, what did the rules count for? It was enough to just take advantage of the holes in the rules. Gu Yanran, who stood opposite her, successfully aroused her once unbridled and fearless temperament. Facing this world, what was there to fear? One, the literal translation of is Demon Mansion, but it's equivalent to the human Dantian, so I'll leave it as Pinyin like I did with Dantian. Luckily, what a Yaofu is gets explained in this chapter. 2, the word was originally elemental energy, but I think it was a typo by the author. 3, I swear it sounds so weird translating swear words. He said, wakao, which is a swear word. 4, aka putting the cart before the horse, meaning to be confused and reversing the order/importance of things. Chapter 56. Destroying the Dantian. It hadn't been long since Lu Mu Yen came to this world, so she temporarily restrained her arrogance and independence, but now that her state of mind suddenly changed, it felt as if she had returned to that bold and uninhibited female immortal that looked down upon the world. She lowered her eyes and concealed the brilliance in them. Because of the sudden change in her state of mind, her temperament also changed drastically. Originally, her temperament was calm and indifferent like the wind and water, but now she exuded a kind of proudness and dignity that looked down upon the world. There was even a hint of wickedness in her expression, as if a red spider lily that had suddenly bloomed, demonic and gorgeous, seizing the brightness on the shores in the netherworld. Come on, Gu Yanran, let me see just how far you can go with the help of an external force. Lu Mu Yen raised her eyes and looked at Gu Yanran. Her eyes that were as bright as the stars carried with it a sharp brilliance. Gu Yanran naturally felt Lu Mu Yan's changes, and she actually had an odd feeling that this sort of bold and uninhibited personality was actually something that Lu Mu Yen should own. She shook her head and put away the hallucinations in her mind. Today, she must have been provoked too deeply by this trash. People with who had some strength and a higher cultivation base in the crowd also keenly noticed the change in Lu Mu Yan's temperament, which formed a stark contrast against Gu Yanran's softness and delicateness. This sort of dignified and bold temperament immediately pulled the distance between the two apart by numerous levels, and made one feel that the light purple figure was more and more dazzling. Wind Sword Go! Gu Yanran channeled a large amount of elemental energy into the long sword in her hand, and instantly gathered a whirlwind. With a wave of her hand, the whirlwind with a strong killing intent and pressure flung from her long sword, heading directly towards Lu Mu Yen. There was a time limit to Gu Yanran borrowing the external force, and she didn't want to talk more nonsense with Lu Mu Yen either, with all her focus on defeating the other party and destroying her Dantian. Lu Mu Yen had long made preparations. Her current strength was only an advanced stage great sword master, so she couldn't be compared to Gu Yanran, who suddenly rose an entire stage, but she had a lot of tricks up her sleeves. It wasn't difficult to win. However, during this period of time, she had exposed a bit too many of her abilities, so she decided that she would only use her previously demonstrated fire attribute elemental energy and her advantage in speed to battle. In this way, she could also have a good idea of the strength of a sword spirit. The lightning leopard that Gu Yanran released before had cultivation base, but didn't have the actual strength because it had lost its wildness and battle experience. As such, its actual strength could only be compared to an initial phase sword spirit. Not to mention, aside from its advantageous speed and the hardness of its body, it didn't really have any other outstanding abilities to note. That's why she could win so easily. While at this time, even though Gu Yanran borrowed an external force, but the strength she displayed was an actual advanced stage sword spirit. It was precisely this sort of battle that was interesting. A fiery fighting spirit burst from Lu Mu Yan's eyes. She moved her feet, and in a few flashes, she vanished from the battle platform. The strong sword aura condensed from the wind element landed on a pillar of the battle platform. Boom boom. The stone pillars instantly turned into countless broken stones, bursting open. Numerous lingering sword auras spread out and shot directly onto the protective barrier arranged by the referees. The protective barrier shook a few times before returning to normal, and the two referees displayed gravity in their eyes. They looked at each other and continued to channel elemental energy into the barrier to strengthen its defensive ability. Lu Mu Yen, if you have the guts, don't keep dodging. Gu Yenran's eyes revealed some redness, and her anger rose to her head. She owned the wind attribute elemental energy, so she originally had the advantage in speed, but now Lu Mu Yen, a cultivator with a fire attribute elemental energy, had the advantage. She truly despised it deeply. Lu Mu Yen didn't stop in her steps and sneered, "Speed's also a kind of strength. If you have the ability, we'll talk after you hit me. Go and die." Gu Yenran was completely overtaken by that powerful external force, and with a hot head, she suddenly had the thought of killing Lu Mu Yen right here. After she channeled the elemental energy into her long sword, she kept slashing towards the flashing shadows. Each sword aura storm exploded on the battle platform. The battle platform was almost half destroyed by the sword aura, but Lu Mu Yan's figures still remained flashing about, sometimes appearing, sometimes disappearing, which was breathtaking. This sort of auxiliary speed technique was really too powerful. Come and read on our website Wuxiao World site. Thanks. Being unable to hit Lu Mu Yen, Gu Yenran screamed with bloodshot eyes, and her sound that carried wind elemental energy spread out and targeted the flashing shadow. Lu Mu Yen narrowed her eyes. She truly underestimated Gu Yenran. This woman did have some talent. Previously, she already created the prototype of a sword aura array, and now she even used a sound attack, which could be regarded as a rather powerful ability. But it was a pity that she met her. After a pause, Lu Mu Yen stopped in midair, extended her hand, and instantly a fiery, blooming fire lotus leapt out from her palm. Gu Yenran also grew fiercer. She gathered all her elemental energy into her long sword desperately. Let's allow one move to determine the winner. Lu Mu Yen, you'll definitely lose. The cyclone continued to rotate around her long sword, and her wind elemental energy gathered little by little to form a violent cyan cyclone. Gu Yenran swung her sword with all her strength, and instantly, a cyan light flew out at impeccable speed. Lu Mu Yen also felt the strong force closing in on her. She turned her jade-like hands calmly, and countless enchanting, crimson fire lotuses floated out, working in collaboration with the first lotus, and formed a huge crimson shield, made from fire lotuses, before her. Bang bang! The cyan cyclone instantly hit the giant fire lotus shield, and a huge explosion sounded in everyone's ears. Those with weaker cultivation bases felt their heart and lungs suffocate, and there was an urge to spurt blood. The cyan and red rays of light met in midair, and the dazzling, piercing light brightened the sky. Seeing that the protective barrier actually started cracking, the referees hurriedly called the other two referees to increase the elemental energy and try to stabilize the protective barrier. Otherwise, the sword aura and blazing hot fire element would inevitably negatively affect the students in the audience. The cyclone that was weakened by more than half by the giant fire lotus shield blasted directly onto Lu Mu Yan's body. Because its speed was too fast, she didn't dodge and allowed the sword aura to fall on her. Following, she was slammed back onto the battle platform by that force and stumbled back a few steps. Blood surged in her chest, and a trace of blood trickled from the corner of her lips. Because she had used a thick, dense net of elemental energy to protect her heart meridians, her injury wasn't too serious. She still appeared apathetic as she suppressed the injury caused by the cyclone, and the corner of her lips curled up as they opened. Break. Part of the energy of the giant fire lotus shield in the air was also offset by the cyan cyclone, but after Lu Mu Yan's voice fell, it instantly merged together and turned into a red light, shooting directly at Gu Yenran. Gu Yenran originally thought she would definitely win upon seeing Lu Mu Yen being injured by the cyclone, so she couldn't help but reveal a triumphant smile, but she was startled by the sudden red light that shot towards her. She immediately threw the green jade pendant around her neck out before her, channeled a portion of elemental energy, and the jade pendant instantly grew larger and protected her in front. She gave Lu Mu Yen a look of provocation. This was a spirit treasure. The strength of the fire elemental energy condensation definitely couldn't break it. Except, one moment she was looking at Lu Mu Yen with provocation, but the next, her face completely paled when the red light penetrated the jade pendant and entered directly into her body. A heart-wrenching pain was transmitted to her brain. She couldn't help but kneel on the ground, her hands wrapped around the area where her dantian was, and her eyes filled with horror. Her dantian was actually shattered by that red light, and the elemental energy escaped like a deflated ball. She panicked, endured the pain, and began to absorb spiritual force from the outside, but when the spiritual force arrived at her dantian, it simply couldn't condense and convert into elemental energy, while the elemental energy stored in her body was gradually being lost. Piu! With Gu Yenran's dantian destroyed, plus her internal injury, she couldn't stop herself from spitting out a few mouthfuls of blood. She suddenly raised her head and glared at Lu Mu Yen, her voice filled with endless hatred. Lu Mu Yen, you actually dared to destroy my dantian. Our Gu clan won't let you go. Lu Mu Yen stretched out her hand and wiped the trace of blood from the corner of her mouth, her eyes unwavering and didn't pay attention to the threat from Gu Yenran. This woman's brain was truly rusty. Right now her dantian was already ruined, and yet she still acted so arrogant. What? You're inferior to me now, so you want to compete using family backgrounds? Huh? You think our Lu clan would be afraid? She curled her lips and smiled devilishly. Gu Yenran, from now on, just enjoy the fun of being trash. Gu Yenran's voice of hatred reverberated on the battle platform, and also made those that had been dumbfounded regain their senses. Yenran. Blue veins popped on Gu Yuankai's forehead and his originally warm smile grew fearfully grim. He couldn't resist, stood up, flew onto the battle platform, picked Gu Yenran up and checked her injuries. When he discovered that Gu Yenran's dantian was shattered irreparably, he looked at Lu Mu Yen with a vicious glare. You cruel and noxious woman, you dared to destroy one's dantian during the grand competition. I want you to pay the price. He was incredibly angered. Gu Yenran was her favorite and most pampered daughter, the most gifted child of their Gu clan, and was the hope for the rise of the Gu clan. He poured so much energy into raising his daughter, yet it was now all ruined by Lu Mu Yen. He wasn't reconciled. Gu Yuankai's thread of sensibility had been plucked. He raised his arm and a wind blade that carried the strength of a sword king flew directly towards Lu Mu Yan's dantian. Clang! The wind blade was unexpectedly blocked by a column of water that fell from the sky. An elegant figure then landed on the battle platform and said with a cold voice, Gu Yuankai, you dare to have such an attitude towards your juniors like this? Then could I take this as provoking our Lu clan? Lu Mo Yu stood in front of Lu Mu Yen. His elegant and handsome face revealed coldness, while there was killing intent hidden in his eyes. When Gu Yuankai saw Lu Mo Yu stand in front of Lu Mu Yen, an obscure flash of light passed by the depths of his eyes. According to his usual temperament he used to disguise himself, he would never be this impulsive. Just now, it was because he was stimulated by the fact that his daughter's dantian had been destroyed. He tried his best to calm himself down, but he really couldn't swallow the anger. Then did the Lu clan have the right to ruin others' dantians so uninhibitedly? Such viciousness, this one, Gu, sure has been taught something. Then Gu Yuankai raised his head to look at the seats of the superiors and continued indignantly, Principal, a student like Lu Mu Yen who disregarded the rules and destroyed one's dantian and foundation should be expelled. His daughter was trash and could no longer obtain a spot in the trials, but he wouldn't let Lu Mu Yen obtain it either. Wanli didn't expect that Gu Yuankai would link this issue to the rules of the grand competition. His eyebrows knitted together tightly, and he fell into deep thought. He naturally didn't want to touch Lu Mu Yen, but what she did today was indeed a bit too much. She destroyed Gu Yenran's dantian in public. If it was outside of the academy, then it wasn't an issue, but since it occurred inside the academy, he feared that it would attract backlash from other students of the academy. However, he was more inclined to protect Lu Mu Yen. Even without comparing the value of the two students within this academy, simply based on the fact that between Gu Yenran's temperament that pretended to be pure on the outside but was in fact vicious on the inside, or Lu Muyan's type of ruthlessness, he preferred the latter. Lu Muyan discovered that the Gu clan's most scheming person was definitely this smiling tiger one, Gu Yuan Kai, who deliberately attempted to describe her as cruel and ruthless to strip her of her spot in the trial. But he should ask whether she agreed or not. The rules of the grand competition only said that you couldn't harm the other's life but didn't say that you couldn't ruin a person's dantian. Lu Muyan sneered indolently. Besides, Gu Yenran wanted to kill me first, no? Does Patriarch Gu think that all the people present at this scene are dead? If it were me whose dantian was destroyed, then would you still come out and fight like this? Before Gu Yuan Kai could refute, Lu Moyu said with a cold expression, I think everyone could clearly see the situation earlier during the battle. After Gu Yenran let out her lightning leopard, every time it attacked, it constantly targeted Yenner's face and dantian. You could tell just who was more vicious with a little bit of thought. After the defeat, Gu Yenran even used the support of an external force to increase her strength, and her last attack also attempted to disable Yenner. If it weren't that Yenner had enough strength to protect herself, then the person who'd be lying on the ground right now with a destroyed dantian would have swapped around. Lu Moyu suppressed the killing intent in his eyes and returned to his usual elegant and handsome demeanor. After hearing words of the Lu father and daughter, many people also began to recall the situation during the previous battle. From the beginning to the end, Gu Yenran was indeed the first to be ruthless, but it was just that she didn't succeed. If it were them, they also wouldn't let go of someone who wholeheartedly wanted to destroy their dantian. At this time, most people also awoke from the lure in Gu Yuan Kai's words. They were almost confused by them. It was a natural rule of this world to get revenge on someone who had wronged them. If one allowed another to ride on top of them like horses and urinate on their heads too, then they were a wuss. Many people who felt Lu Muyan was vicious now re-examined the situation again and discovered that Gu Yenran was indeed suffering from her own actions. Of course, Lu Muyan was indeed cruel, but this cruelty was built on top of the principle of dealing with one as they did, or wanted to do, to them. Come and read on our website Wuxiao World site. Thanks. After listening to her father's words, Lu Muyan chuckled softly, then looked at Ruan Li and said, Principal, it was Gu Yenran who first desired to destroy my dantian, so my hand slipped and accidentally destroyed her dantian. This should be considered self-defense, right? Not to mention, isn't it considered breaking the rules when she forcibly increased her own strength with the help of the spirit treasure around her neck? I strongly request the Academy to expel her. The corner of Ruan Li's eye twitched. Her hand slipped? This girl sure wasn't embarrassed to say such things. It was obviously deliberate when she sealed Gu Yenran's dantian with a void talisman before. If he didn't guess wrong, if the void talisman wasn't broken by that energy, then after 2 hours, it would completely integrate into Gu Yenran's dantian and Gu Yenran would still become trash. Astonishment flashed by Gu Yuan Kai's eyes. Lu Muyan could actually discover the spirit treasure that his daughter carried. She truly couldn't be left alive. In fact, many people didn't know how Gu Yenran suddenly increased her strength. After hearing Lu Muyan's words, they couldn't help booing. It was simply too despicable to use a spirit treasure to increase one's cultivation base when participating in the grand competition. There was simply no fairness in it at all, and it was indeed breaking the rules. Who would have expected that Gu Yenran, who usually displayed gentleness and tenderness, would be this unbearable? Lu Muyan, you're slandering me. Gu Yenran's dantian was all stirred up and in pain, but when she heard Lu Muyan bite back, she couldn't help but berate her. Lu Muyan glanced at her nonchalantly, then looked away with disgust as if having seen something dirty. She raised her head and looked at Ruan Li firmly and said, Principal, since Gu Yenran had broken the rules, then everyone must see how she's held accountable, right? Otherwise, if during future grand competitions, other students also followed suit and borrowed external elemental energy to raise their cultivation base to battle, then wouldn't the grand competition become a competition between how solid the foundations of a distinguished clan were, and whose clan was richer? Hearing Lu Muyan's words, many students from ordinary backgrounds showed indignant expressions, and displayed a bit of detest towards Gu Yenran. The rules of the Academy's grand competition didn't include the rule of punishing a person who destroyed another's dantian. Lu Muyan's behavior was indeed too much, but it was not against the rules. After some deep consideration, Ruanli made a decision, and his face revealed gravity. Gu Yenran using a Tier 4 spirit pet wasn't against the rules either, but using the power of a spirit treasure to forcefully advance their cultivation base and strength to battle is indeed a violation of the Academy rules. His gaze swept over the father and daughter pair from the Gu clan and continued. Since Gu Yenran's dantian was accidentally destroyed by Lu Muyan, the Academy won't punish her further. You may go home yourself and recuperate. The meaning of going home to recuperate was obvious. She needn't come back to the Imperial Academy in the future. Not saying it clearly was considered giving Gu clan a way out of this awkward situation. Ruan Li's words sounded pertinent, but people could still discover that he was partial towards Lu Muyan. However, with some thought it was also understandable, one who had been raised by them was now a trash, and one who used to be trash was now a prodigy. Whoever was less important or more important could easily be chosen by anyone who understood the situation. Piu. Gu Yenran's fury reached her heart when she heard Ruan Li's words, not to mention the injury on her dantian was severe, so she couldn't stop herself from spitting out blood and fainting. What made the entire world even darker was her last look at Qi Xian before closing her eyes. That man stared at Lu Muyan with scorching eyes of desire, so fervent that it was so obvious and vivid, while he turned a blind eye to her injuries. This was the man she had loved for many years. The coldness in her heart, accompanied by the blow of having been turned to trash, made Gu Yenran unable to hold on any longer, and she completely lost consciousness. She only hoped that after waking up, everything that happened today was just a dream. Tigers are dangerous, and a smiling tiger described someone that lures one into a false sense of security and safety, but was actually a dangerous or scheming person too. Of course, it is figurative. Simply meaning if one allowed others to do whatever they wanted to them, they were a wuss and weak. Random note, yes. Yes, her hand slipped indeed. Random note 2, went to watch Shang-Chi last night now that lockdown's over. It was wonderful representation with proper Chinese mythical creatures explored, and the action was great. It was honestly what Mulan live action could have been. Mulan live action was honestly a disappointment. But Shang-Chi did everything right. Chapter 58. Obtained a place in the trials. Gu Yuankai found that his daughter in his arms had completely fainted, and his face couldn't be any darker. I have truly experienced the Lu clan's ability to reverse black and white. As expected of a person who comes from the mansion of one who aided in founding this dynasty. Gu Yuankai sneered coldly. Lu Mou glanced at him and said with a faint smile, "Everyone has an innate sense of what is fair and just. Whoever is right or wrong isn't something that could be forced to become truth simply based on one's words. I suggest that Patriarch Gu take young Miss Gu to seek medical care as quickly as possible. Your daughter had been hurt so badly like this, and yet you still have the time to talk so glibly. This one, Lu, truly admires Patriarch Gu very much. Your Lu clan is truly pushing one too hard. Our Gu clan won't leave this issue as it is." Gu Yuankai didn't bother hiding his true character right now either. The Lu clan already stepped on his baseline. After he returned this time, he must plan well on how to peel a layer of skin off from the Lu clan. As for Lu Muyan, she was just a person that was bound to die. He sure wanted to see how Lu Mou and the others' faces changes when that time arrives. He suppressed the strong killing intent against the Lu father and daughter, carried the unconscious Gu Yenran and quickly headed towards the gate of the battlegrounds. Although Gu Yenran's dantian had been destroyed, but he still had a sliver of hope that, perhaps by some sort of luck, their clan's ancestor could have some way to remedy it. Of course, he noted down this hatred towards the Lu clan for ruining his daughter, and in turn, also began to hate the Imperial Academy. After Gu Yuankai walked out the gate of the academy and got into the carriage, his usual kind, round face instantly became grim, and a green light that didn't belong to any normal person flashed in his eyes. Once the plan was implemented, he would absolutely destroy the Lu clan and the Imperial Academy, and drive Lu Mu Yen and her father to the 18th layer of Hell too. As soon as the Gu father and daughter left, Ruanli gave Lan Si a surreptitious look, then sat there as if a calm and composed old monk drinking tea, not saying any more. After receiving that indicative look, Lan Si's lips curled into a very shallow arc. He didn't expect that little girl, Lu Mu Yen, to have this sort of ability. How very interesting. I announced that Lu Mu Yen won the final competition and won the only place for the trials of the freshman Earth class. Lan Si cleared his throat and announced to the audience. Wow! As soon as his voice fell, the audience burst with fervor. Lu Mu Yen, the Academy's #1 trash, really defeated her opponent in the Earth class and won first place, as well as a place in the trials. Many people still felt as if they were dreaming, as it was simply unreal. This Lu Mu Yan's simply too abnormal. With the cultivation base of an advanced phase great sword master, she not only defeated a tier 4 spirit pet, but also defeated Gu Yen Ran, who had advanced her cultivation base to advanced phase sword spirit stage. It's unbelievable. But since she forcibly advanced her cultivation base, her strength isn't as powerful as an actual advanced phase sword spirit expert, so Gu Yen Ran's actual strength is only middle phase sword spirit. Someone said, "I'm convinced." The people next to him knew that he was speaking the truth, but there were also some people who disagreed. But that's still a fight that crossed levels. To be able to battle a sword spirit as a great sword master and come out victorious, I'm truly convinced by Lu Mu Yen. I'm also convinced. Echoes of agreement resounded. This was precisely the world where strength was respected. In front of strength, everything else was futile. Only with strength could one obtain respect. At this time, even those who were dissatisfied of, jealous of, envious of, or hated Lu Mu Yen wouldn't display their disagreement of her either. On the seats of the distinguished guests, Xiao Ziong's mouth had dropped wide open, and it took him a while to come to his senses. He slapped Lu Mu Ting on the back again and said with an excited, overstimulated voice, "Mu Ting, your younger sister is simply too fierce. I was truly pecked in the eyes by an eagle in the past 3. That's only a matter of course. Can't you see whose little sister she is?" Lu Mu Ting turned his head with a face of pride and smugness. It looked as if it begged for a beating. Xiao Ziong clicked his tongue, then turned his head away, wishing he didn't know this Siscon idiot. Yun Lan looked at the purple figure on the battle platform with a profound look, and a ripple rose in his heart. Come and read on our website Wuxiao World site. Thanks. Qi Yi Xian's deep gaze had Lu Mu Yen reflected in his eyes. If one looked carefully, one could capture that in the depths of his eyes there was an additional determined desire. Lu Mu Yen calmly accepted the only trial place in the Earth class. Her facing things with calmness regardless of honor or disgrace made many superiors of the empire think highly of her and thought that it was as expected of one from the Lu clan. Her manner was truly extraordinary. Of course, because of Lu Mu Yan's unbelievable performance today, there were more people who desired the marrow cleansing pill. Ruan Li, Yun Tianchen and the others all had their own plans, but they were all optimistic about Lu Mu Yan's rise. After the grand competition, Lu Mu Yen didn't remain at the academy, but instead returned to the general's mansion with her family. As soon as she got home, Lu Zhantian ordered the servants to prepare dinner and celebrate together. Yenner, you could rightfully feel proud and elated today. You really earned face for your big brother. Lu Mu Ting squeezed in to sit beside Lu Mu Yen, saying with a face of smiles. Lu Mu Yen rolled her eyes at him with amusement. Smug. Ha, being smug is only natural. Yenner's performance today truly opened our eyes. Who knew that, although the time you spent cultivating wasn't long, but you could already condense your fire elemental energy? Lu Zhantian was extremely excited. That's right, little sister's talents not at all inferior to mine, and perhaps is even better. Lu Mu Bei's indifferent expression had long been replaced by softness and was proud of his younger sister from the bottom of his heart. Lu Mo's eyes were also full of smiles. Today's indeed worth celebrating. After the family finished their dinner in a warm atmosphere, Lu Mu Yen called them to the conference hall, took out 4 jade slips from her interspatial ring that she had written from memory and handed it to them one by one. Today she discovered that the aura of the Gu father and daughter weren't right. The Gu clan definitely wasn't simple and was instead a venomous snake that hid in the dark. She must improve the Lu clan's overall strength, at least to be able to protect themselves. Lu Zhantian took the jade slip curiously and placed it on his forehead to read, but the more he read, the more shocked he became. After finishing the last page, his expression of shock was to a degree that he had never displayed before. "Yenner, where did you get this sword skill from?" This was a solid sky rank sword skill that had practically never appeared in Yenzhou country before. Even in the entire Tianling continent, only those super distinguished clans or sects could possibly own one as their most valuable collection. Lu Muyen rubbed the ice bangle on her wrist that Ming Xiu gifted her, then raised her eyes with a smile and said, "I believe that you've all already heard from eldest brother. The last time I was injured by Gu Yen ran and fell unconscious, I dreamt that I'd gone to another world." "Yes, we've indeed heard of it. It felt as if I had experienced thousands of years and learnt many things for. Amongst them, I also remembered a lot of manuals and sword skills. These 4 sky rank sword skills was precisely something I obtained from that world." "What? Sky rank sword skill?" Lu Muting had wondered what the jade slip contained when his grandpa's expression changed. Now that he heard the two talk about sky rank sword skills, he placed the copy in his hand on his forehead in disbelief. Lu Mubai and Lu Mou also did the same thing, and after a while, they also displayed expressions that were practically the same as grandfather. The sword skills in the jade slips weren't only sky rank, but were also exceptionally suitable for their cultivation attributes. Coordinated with their current manuals, it was practically like a tiger with added wings 5. One basically another way of him sarcastically saying as expected from the Lu clan. The first part between Guyan Kai and Lu Mou is full of sarcasm. Haha, to Chinese mythology, hell has 18 layers, and the 18th layer is the lowest depths of hell, and the worst. 3 figuratively means he used to be blind to not have seen how amazing Lu Muyen was. Side note, Xiao Ziyang's pretty funny huh? I just randomly realized, she was probably thousands of years old when she died in her previous life, and it probably wasn't an exaggeration when she says she experienced thousands of years. Why did I only realize how old she was now? After my umpteenth time reading this? I can't remember if the novel ever clarified it. I mean, it makes sense if she was. How old was Ming Xiu again? I can't really remember. No matter, love knows no age, with exceptions, of course. I do not condone certain acts done under the pretense of love. 5. A tiger is already very strong and dominated the land, so a tiger that had grown wings would be even stronger as it could conquer the sky. Chapter 59. Become partners. Who knew that Yenner would have such a fortuitous encounter? Lu Mou lowered the jade slip from his forehead and held it in his palm as he smiled and continued to say, "No wonder the divine seer would foretell that you would be reborn after experiencing a life or death calamity, obtain a great opportunity, and even embark on the path of the strong because of it." Not only that, from this incident, Yenner not only gained a lot herself, but even the Lu clan benefited by association. The Lu clan's combat power will rise to an even higher level. Lu Zhantian added, "I'm going to study the sword skill now." After reading the contents of the jade slip, Lu Muting stood up with a look of comprehension, then hurriedly left the hall, returning to his room to cultivate. Lu Zhantian and the others' eyes also revealed a dash of eagerness. The people of the Lu clan were diligent in cultivating with extraordinary talents. After seeing such a sword skill in front of them, if they didn't immediately go study it, they'd feel restless. Lu Muyen smiled, then took out some more jade slips she had prepared and handed them to Lu Zhantian. "Grandpa, take these earth rank manuals and see who in the Lu clan are suitable to raise, then give it to them." The excitement and joy on Lu Zhantian's face couldn't be suppressed. He took the jade slips, read them all, then laughed aloud a few times. Good. It was also time for the Lu clan to train a group of high-level sword masters as their trump cards in battle. Grandpa, father, eldest brother, you guys can go to your rooms to study it now. Lu Muyen saw how the usually calm and composed three were unable to sit still, so she said with a smile. In her hands, those sky rank sword skills weren't considered high level at all. She even had saint rank and deity rank ones, except cultivation should be gradual and orderly. With the cultivation base of the four people, more advanced sword skills or manuals weren't appropriate. All right. The three nodded in unison. Lu Muyen stared at the backs of the three that were leaving and her eyes were dyed with warmth. She would definitely make the Lu clan stronger and stronger. She must protect the family she cherished. After returning to her room, she saw that the little white beast was on her bed absorbing the spiritual force of heaven and earth and refining it. Slight surprise crossed her eyes. Such an absorption speed was even faster than her by a lot. This spirit devourer that titled himself as this king was indeed from an extraordinary origin. She walked to the table opposite the bed and sat down, took out the spiritual tea she received from shopkeeper Lu that was in her interspatial ring and brewed a pot. Together with Lu Muyen's tea-making movements that flowed smoothly like the clouds and water, a scent of aromatic tea permeated the entire room. The spirit devourer, that initially had both eyes closed, opened them, glanced at the woman who was drinking tea from her cup and telepathically said with coldness in his voice, "Let's talk." The corners of Lu Muyen's lips raised slightly in an arc. She lifted her eyes and asked, "You've thought it through? What does it matter if I have or haven't thought it through? Did I have any other options?" A self-deprecating voice sounded in Lu Muyen's sea of consciousness, and even the way he referred to himself changed from this king to I. It seemed that he had come to understand his current unfortunate circumstances. Lu Muyen nodded in approval. "You indeed had no other choice. Just what do you want? Can I ask you a few questions first?" Lu Muyen asked instead and avoided answering. The little white beast revealed a cold look in his eyes that didn't match his appearance. After a moment of silence, he replied, "Ask. What's your name? Come and read on our website Wuxiao World site. Thanks, Mo Yen. You're from another continent? Yes. An upper interface? Or a continent on the same interface? With your current strength, you're not qualified to know this." Lu Muyen pursed her lips, but didn't mind and continued to ask, "You were once really powerful? I must picked up a treasure when I took you home after winning you." Mo Yen glanced at Lu Muyen lightly and didn't refute. He used to dominate a portion of the demonic realm, so naturally he was quite powerful. As for picking up a treasure, that was only a matter of course. Lu Muyen chuckled upon seeing his look that evidently said, "That's only for granted." Maybe this demonic beast wasn't as cold and distant as she thought. "I finished asking my questions. Let's talk about cooperation now." Mo Yan's eyes were cold, but there were also some hidden emotions. "Speak. I won't think of you as a spirit pet that ill order around. I feel that we can become partners. At least we have the same goal, which is to keep growing stronger." After asking those questions, she felt as if she had somewhat understood Mo Yen, and it gave birth to a feeling of connection due to their similar circumstances. They were both once almighty people who stood above the clouds, yet now they were reduced to the weak at the lowest end of the food chain. They both had the heart to become stronger and was unwilling to remain as they were. That was why she had so much patience towards Mo Yen. The calm in Mo Yan's eyes wavered and his cold heart trembled. Partner? Could he believe it again? As he met Lu Muyen's firm and sincere eyes, Mo Yen suddenly had the urge to try. At the very least, he wouldn't be losing anything, right? Alright, I'll cooperate with you. But you also need to help me find some spiritual herbs and spiritual items that can help me restore my strength. As long as he had those things, he would soon be able to restore a part of his strength. Lu Muyen nodded and asked, "Is it difficult for you to regain your strength?" It wasn't easy for her to regain the strength of her previous life. Aside from the experience and the manuals in her sea of consciousness she could use, she had to do everything else from scratch. It wasn't difficult to cultivate again, after all, the experience was all there. But the spiritual force of this interface was relatively thin, so it's difficult to find some spiritual herbs and spiritual items, and it may waste a lot of time. Mo Yan's eyes were dyed with a cold pride and self-confidence. What we cultivators lacked most definitely wasn't time. For demonic beasts like you with a long lifespan, it only feels like the time it took to snap a finger. Lu Mu Yen remembered how eager she was to improve in strength and laughed in ridicule at herself, but for us now, time's indeed precious. Mo Yen found that he couldn't understand this woman more and more. Why did a 15 or 16-year-old girl give people a sense of maturity as if having gone through the numerous vicissitudes of life? The steadfast heart of the strong that she possessed also startled him, and an inexplicable sense of sympathy rose in him. "You're right." Mo Yen nodded in agreement. Precisely because he desperately wanted to restore his strength, he kept cultivating at every breath. "What spiritual herbs or spiritual items do you need? Give me a list." Mo Yan's improvement in strength was also beneficial for her, so she hoped to find the things he required to restore his strength as quickly as possible. The guardedness in Mo Yan's eyes faded a lot. Since he decided to cooperate, then might as well believe one more time. He hoped that this human wouldn't disappoint him. He used his demonic sense to telepathically transmit to Lu Mu Yen the several kinds of spiritual herbs that he needed right now. "Although I used my secret skill to be reborn, but I still have to start over. The current most urgent thing is to re-establish my Yaofu. Spiritual items weren't required right now, but I hope you can help me find frozen mist grass which I'll use to advance the level of my Yaofu." Every demonic beast with a demonic sense and boar wisdom would experience the process of establishing a Yaofu. The higher the level of the Yaofu, the better the talent in cultivation in the future, and the speed of cultivation would also be much faster. The level of the Yaofu also determined the quality of the demonic core they would form in the future, so it was exceptionally important for a demonic beast. "Frozen mist grass," Lu Mu Yen muttered. She took a sip of tea from her cup and agreed readily, "No problem." The deep orchid she was looking for and the frozen mist grass both grew in the glacial mountain range. It just so happened she needed to find the deep orchid, so why wouldn't she help with something that was just on the way? After 2 days, Lu Mu Yen followed Lu Mu Bai back to the Imperial Academy. In the most ancient hall of the academy, Principal Ruan Li and several other instructors were already seated. Opposite them were 9 students. "Mu Bai, Mu Yen, you've both come. Sit." Ruan Li said with a gentle smile on his face and gestured for them to take a seat. After the two sat down, Ruan Li sat properly upright and looked at the 11 people seriously, addressing them. "Bringing you all here today is so that we can discuss the situation with the trial this time. The trial after this grand competition is something different from what occurs after the grand competition in previous years and was exceptionally important," Ruan Li emphasized. "You should all know that Yanzhou Kingdom isn't the only kingdom on Tianling continent. There are also thousands, even tens of thousands of large and small kingdoms. But aside from these kingdoms, there are also super distinguished clans and sects that control and distribute the resources on this continent. The most powerful entities on this continent are the 6 great sects. The 10 distinguished spirit sword clans of the eastern region is in fact only at the very bottom of the continent's distinguished clans." Gasp. The 11 people present could all be regarded as those favored by the heavens, but after hearing this news, some still couldn't help but be stumped for words. The eastern region ranks last among the 4 major regions in terms of overall strength, so our Yanzhou Kingdom is an extremely unremarkable existence on Tianling continent. Ruan Li paused, then spoke with gravity, "And although you're all the most outstanding figures amongst the younger generation of Yanzhou Kingdom, and could be regarded as the empire's geniuses amongst this generation, but compared to the similar-aged sword masters of other larger countries, you guys don't count for much, and in fact, is also at the very bottom. It's not to say that your natural endowments are worser than them, but you fall short on the resources that you're provided with compared to theirs by a great amount. That's why I hope you guys are fair to yourselves and not be disheartened. You'll only be able to improve if you attempt to pursue those that are stronger than yourselves." There was encouragement in Ruan Li's eyes. "Principal, you explaining all these things about the continent to us, Is there any special meaning to it? A young man of around 20 amongst the 11 students asked with confusion and worry. Every 20 years there'll be a continental tournament for Hegemony 1, and next year was precisely the beginning of the new round of the tournament for Hegemony. All the countries in the 4 major regions are given quotas, and our Yenzhou kingdom also received 6 places. Seeing the various expressions amongst the 11 people, with some even secretly hiding some worry, Ruanli continued. These 6 places were the total number of places given to Yenzhou kingdom and isn't to be chosen amongst only you guys. The pupils of the Imperial family and Yenzhou kingdom's other distinguished clans will also participate in the trial this time, and the 6 people participating in the continental tournament for hegemony will be chosen amongst all of you. Then doesn't that mean we all have a chance? But vice versa, it was also possible none of us will be chosen? Another young woman asked anxiously. She was the winner of the senior student competition of the Earth class, but her strength was already relatively weaker than the rest. If they had to compete with the Imperial family to obtain a spot, then there was very little hope. That's only natural. The trial this time is basically an indirect selection trial. You must all take this seriously and cherish this opportunity. He didn't want to give a complete blow to the students' confidence, so added, comforting, each one of you has a chance. Don't be discouraged. It isn't impossible for you to have a fortuitous encounter during the trial and soar high into the sky too. After hearing Ruan Li's words, the students' eyes that were dim from being disheartened lit up. That's right, they already rose above others during the grand competition, who knew who'd win one of the 6 places in the future. On the other hand, Lu Mu Yen and Lu Mu Bai didn't reveal much emotion. Their eyes remained indifferent throughout, which made the superiors of the academy think highly of them again. Qi Yixian's expression was also rather calm, and the ripples in his eyes had been concealed. Amongst the 11 people, he was also one of the students that Ruan Li and the other superiors were very optimistic about. Principal, are there any benefits in participating in the trial and obtaining a place in the continental tournament for hegemony? A heaven-class student named Fu Chen, whose strength was second to Lu Mu Bai, asked. The result of the continental tournament for hegemony directly affected the allocation of the continent's resources in the future 20 years. If you could advance to the top 100, then Yenzhou kingdom would be allocated even more resources. Ruanli didn't conceal anything and continued to say, if you receive a good result, the empire will also gift you generous rewards. Come and read on our website Wuxiao World site. Thanks. Seeing the students' bright eyes, he added with a smile. However, the most precious aspect for the players of the continental tournament for hegemony aren't the rewards from the empire, but instead, the chance to join Tianling continent's 6 great sects. That was the most tempting. What? We can actually join the 6 great sects. Among the 11 people, a person with a rather deep, solid background, Jihan Su, couldn't help but exclaim. In his clan's secret manual, there were more or less some records on the structure of Tianling continent, and within, there were records of the most superior forces, the 6 great sects. Even if one had excelling natural endowments, wanting to join the sects were as hard as ascending to the heavens. Who knew that the grand competition this time was actually linked to the 6 great sects? The 6 great sects' origins flows back long into the distant past, and their foundation and background was something that other distinguished clans and empires can't compare to. All the disciples beneath them have extraordinary talents. Meanwhile, the continental tournament for hegemony was precisely one of their ways of gathering excelling disciples. After all, to be able to excel and distinguish oneself in the top 100, above the tens of thousands of talented seeded players, they were definitely worthy of raising. Yuan Li stroked his beard as he explained. Everyone desired that their own kingdom's seeded players could enter into the top 100 and receive the welcome token from the 6 great sects. Lu Mu Yen caught onto the yearning in Ruan Li's eyes, then raised an eyebrow and asked, Principal, then within all the previous continental tournament for hegemonies, did our Yenzhou kingdom have any seeded players enter into the top 100? Ruanli didn't think that Lu Mu Yen would ask such an incisive question, was fazed for a moment, then smiled in embarrassment. None. She guessed that was how it was, paused, then asked, "Then the best result is?" Cough, cough. Seeing that everyone was staring at him, Wanli coughed dryly, "The best result is at 2,100. Isn't the principal just cheating people? The best result was only at 2,100? Then how much of a chance did they have to advance to the top 100? However, Lu Muyan's eyes revealed fiery flames. The more challenging something was, the more interesting it was, and the more interested she was in it. Her lips rose and said domineeringly and confidently, "The individual's effort is the decisive factor. Humans will definitely triumph over the heavens three. Let's create a legend of Yanzhou Kingdom." Good. Ambitious. Hearing Lu Muyan's passionate words, Wanli couldn't resist slamming his palm down on the table. "You should all participate in the selection trial with such an attitude. I hope that in the Continental Tournament of Hegemony this time, there'll be someone amongst you guys who'll successfully obtain the welcome token from one of the 6 great sects." Except for Lu Mubai and Qi Xian, the others' foreheads were filled with deep creases as they furrowed their brows. Wasn't Lu Muyan a bit too arrogant? As the winner of the Freshman Earth class, she couldn't even compare to them, so how could she create Yanzhou Kingdom's legend? Was it really fine for the principal to be agreeing so blindly? But it was undeniable that, after hearing Lu Muyan's words, a passionate desire and motivation couldn't help but rise in their hearts, and they began to look forward to the upcoming selection trial. Qi Yixian looked deeply at Lu Muyan that glowed with pride and vigor. Right now, there was some sort of charm that exuded from her which constantly made people inadvertently convinced. That sort of domineering, unbridled, and bold temperament made his heart ceaselessly turbulent and be infatuated with her. It was more and more impossible to retrieve his gaze upon her, and he only desired to hide her away, letting her shine bright only for him. That translation should be fine. If I think of a better way to translate, I'll update it. 2. Rise up and become stronger because of the encounter. 3. Whatever happens isn't up to others to decide but themselves, and they will definitely triumph over any obstacle. Note, changed Yanzhou country to Yanzhou Kingdom. It's probably a really irrelevant change, but I felt kingdom suited better. Oh. Note, so it's been a while since Qihua continent had been mentioned. I feel like it was a typo by the author. I'll translate a bit more to see. If it was, I'll go back to correct the 2 times that Qihua continent had been mentioned into Tianling continent. Chapter 61. The Grand Competition's bonus rewards. After Wanli explained the situation, he introduced them to the instructor who would lead them in the trial. In this trial, the Academy will send 3 instructors to lead the team, namely Lan Si, Ji Xian, and Hu Fei. Wanli pointed to the 3 people beside him and introduced them one by one. The 11 people nodded in greeting. The fact that the Academy sent Lan Si as the team's head instructor meant they really attached great importance to the selection trial. In the next month, we're very happy to be your team's lead instructors. On Lan Si's gentle, handsome face was a smile like the spring breeze. Then he blinked at the several people playfully, "But we won't go easy on you guys." The several people were mesmerized by Lan Si's gentle smile, and they were very grateful that he was the head instructor this time. Lu Muyan, however, weighed him out in her heart. Lan Si definitely wasn't as gentle as he appeared on the surface. This person was wearing a mask. "Principal, where are we going for the trial?" Lu Mubai asked. When faced with Lu Mubai, Wanli's attitude was extremely nice. This time, the trial site's set in the Glacial Mountain Range. Aside for the 2 trial teams of Yanzhou Kingdom, the 10 distinguished clans of the eastern region also have their own trials in the Glacial Mountain Range. They're participating in the selection trials with us? Lu Mubei's eyes revealed slight surprise. No. Their trial standards and criteria are even harder than yours, but it's inevitable that your 2 parties will meet. At that time, keep a low profile and don't cause trouble. Wanli said seriously. Even the Empire's Imperial family didn't dare provoke the core children of the 10 distinguished clans. Then is the trial team selected by the Empire's Imperial family going with us? A student asked. Wanli nodded. Of course. Your two teams have to compete for those 6 spots together. For the sake of fairness, all trial missions are the same. Can we form an alliance with each other? Fu Chen thought for a bit then asked. No matter what methods you use, as long as it doesn't endanger the lives of the people who participate in the trials together, then it's fine. Wanli took a sip of tea and cautioned them. There were once 2 teams who participated in the trials that worked together at the beginning to deal with another team, so you must be careful. Of course, you'd all have to work together in the beginning, otherwise what awaits is only elimination. Then Wanli answered the questions of a few other students. Seeing that they had spent quite some time here, he knocked his finger on the desk and said, "It's getting late. You should all go back and rest first. Report to the academy after 3 days. The 3 instructors will lead you to the glacial mountain range to join the Imperial team." "Yes, Principal." The 11 people stood up and prepared to leave. Except the moment Lu Mu Yen turned around, she heard Ruan Li's telepathic voice. "Come find me later." Lu Mu Yan's steps paused. Although she didn't know why the principal looked for her, but she nodded slightly to indicate that she knew. After leaving the hall together, Qi Xian walked to Lu Mu Yen and his eyes were softer than ever. "Mu Yen, let's team up during the trial." "No need." Lu Mu Yen was a little surprised by Qi Xian's attitude, but didn't want to have anything to do with him, so she refused without hesitation. Qi Xian's brows furrowed together. He initially thought that after making such a request, Lu Mu Yen would be very happy like usual and would agree, but he didn't expect to be rejected. "Come and read on our website Wuxiao World site." Thanks, a sudden panic rose in his heart. Something felt like it had changed. He could potentially be losing something important, but he couldn't catch on to what this inexplicable feeling was. "You'd be safer with me." Although he was dissatisfied by Lu Mu Yan's refusal, but he urgently wanted to bound himself with Lu Mu Yen from the bottom of his heart, so he said with a stiff expression, holding back his feelings. Lu Mu Bei's indifferent eyes were dyed with slight unhappiness. He stood in front of Lu Mu Yen and blocked Qi Xian's vision, speaking neither heavily nor lightly. "My little sister naturally has my protection, so I won't bother Sir Qi." After he finished speaking, he didn't care about Qi Xian's reaction and pulled Lu Mu Yen to leave. When his younger sister loved Qi Xian so deeply that she would even die for him, that man didn't cherish it. Now that he discovered how good his treasured younger sister was, he wanted her back. Humph, how could there be such a convenient thing? Lu Mu Yen casually glanced at Qi Xian, whose face was half stiff and blue. Her lips raised into a very shallow arc, and she passed him with her eldest brother. Qi Xian stared at the backs of the brother and sister leaving, face dark and gaze obscure. Who knew what he was thinking? "Big brother, the principal told me telepathically to go and find him just now." After walking for a while, Lu Mu Yen grabbed Lu Mu Bei's arm and said. Lu Mu Bei didn't know why the principal wanted to find his younger sister, but it wouldn't be something bad. "You can go, I'll wait for you in the small building where you live to go home together." "All right." When Lu Mu Yen returned to the hall again, there were only the 2 brothers, Ruan Li and Ruan Yang, sitting on the main seats. "Principal, did you need me for something?" Lu Mu Yen walked in front of the 2 and asked with a smile. "Indeed." Ruan Li took out 2 brocade boxes from his interspatial ring, handed them to Lu Mu Yen and said, "These 2 things are the prizes for the winner of the Earth class. Do you like it?" Lu Mu Yen didn't expect the academy to give her bonus rewards, but she wasn't ceremonious either, and opened the box in front of the 2. The inner layer of the first box was made of millennial profound ice, and within there was what appeared to be an aged 7-leaf ginseng. A hint of joy flashed past Lu Mu Yan's eyes. She truly was lucky this time. One of the 3 main ingredients for the foundation establishment pill, the purple monkey flower, had already been won by her from the last auction, and now she obtained the 7-leaf ginseng. Meanwhile, she could take advantage of the trial this time to find the deep orchid. She believed that it wouldn't take long before she could gather and refine the spiritual herbs required for the foundation establishment pill. Once she advanced to the foundation establishment stage, her strength would greatly improve, and she'd have more confidence for the continental tournament for hegemony. Lu Mu Yan's eyes were as bright as the stars, and she clenched her hands into fists tightly, thinking about how she must refine the foundation establishment pill before the continental tournament for hegemony. She closed the box containing the 7-leaf ginseng, then opened the other box. Inside was a scarlet gold whip. On the whip, there were faint fluctuations of spiritual energy, indicating that it was a middle-quality spirit treasure. I obtained this long whip by accident. I found that you didn't like using swords too much, so I thought to gift this to you. Alchemist Ruan Yang, who sat next to Ruan Li, explained in a good mood upon seeing Lu Mu Yan's dazed expression when seeing the long whip. Lu Mu Yan closed the brocade box, thought a moment, then smiled and said, "I thank Principal and Alchemist Ruan for your kindness." Mu Yan accepts. "I do indeed need the 7-leaf ginseng, so I will accept, but forgive me as I dare not take this long whip." She really did like this scarlet gold whip, but she shouldn't accept a reward when it wasn't deserved. She felt that it wasn't so simple for Ruan Yang to gift her this spirit treasure. Ruan Yang didn't expect Lu Mu Yan to reject such benefits. His desire to accept her as his disciple grew even stronger, and a more sincere smile rose on his face. "This spirit treasure is a gift for you. Why, do you not like it?" Chapter 62. The Ling family's matter. Lu Mu Yan had a wealth of experience, and she was very accurate in her analysis of a person. She knew that Ruan Yang wasn't a scheming person and was instead upright, so she didn't want to speak in circles. "Elder Yang, it's not that I don't like this magic treasure, but I did nothing to deserve this reward. Why don't you speak directly of the purpose of finding me today?" She could tell that the main person that looked for her today was Ruan Yang. Straightforward. Ruan Li liked to deal with straightforward people. He stroked his red beard with a look as if he was thirsting for water. "Lu girl, you're born to be an alchemist with such skillful use of fire elemental energy. Are you interested in becoming a disciple of mine? As long as you become my disciple, I'll definitely do my best to teach you, and you can use the resources of the academy as you wish." In order to be able to keep the good seedling, Ruan Yang added, "The resources of the academy could be used by her as she wishes?" The corners of Ruan Li's mouth twitched. He knew just how ruthless this girl was in terms of cheating people of their things. Lu Mu Yan didn't expect that Ruan Yang actually wanted to take her in as a disciple. She put away the surprise in her heart, then politely refused. "Apologies, Elder Yang. I have already accepted a senior as my master in the Blazing Mountain Range, and without his permission, I dare not become a disciple of another person." Her alchemy attainments were probably pretty well matched with even the best alchemists on Tianling continent. She also owned countless peerless pill recipes, so Ruan Yang couldn't teach her anything. Not to mention, her aspirations didn't end at Yenzhou Kingdom, so it was even more impossible for her to recognize Ruan Yang as her master. "In that case, I won't force it." Ruan Yang revealed some disappointment. But after thinking about it, he smiled and said, "You like this spirit treasure, but you don't want to take it for no reason. Then how about we make a deal?" "What deal?" Lu Mu Yan asked. "How about you give me 2 of your energy-nourishing pills?" Last time, the energy-nourishing pills that Lu Mu Yan gave Yun Tianchen were given to the enshrined alchemist of the Imperial family to research. But Ruan Yang was itching with interest, so even though he couldn't gain a disciple, he thought to exchange 2 pills to research. Of course, it wasn't that he didn't want the marrow cleansing pill, but a middle-grade spirit treasure's value simply couldn't be compared to the marrow cleansing pill's value, and he didn't want to be forceful even more. When Lu Mu Yan's master appeared, then he would pay him a personal visit to discuss the matter. Lu Mu Yan nodded and directly took out a bottle of energy-nourishing pills to hand over. When Ruan Li took the energy-nourishing pills, she unceremoniously put away the scarlet gold whip. Before she could refine her own natal magic treasure, this long whip was the only spirit treasure that caught her eyes. In this deal, she profited. After extracting some more information about the continental tournament for hegemony from Ruan Li, and then chatting a little more with the two, Lu Mu Yan left the hall with a bright smile. After she left completely, Ruan Li played with the teacup in his hand and said, "What do you think of this girl?" "Not bad. She's a wonderful mold that could be sculpted one." But with her talent, I'm afraid that she wouldn't be limited within Yanzhou Kingdom's skies and land. The outside world was more suitable for her. Ruan Yang said after pausing for a moment. While his temper was straightforward, he wasn't stupid. The little girl of the Lu clan wasn't simple at all. I have a feeling that she'd be able to stand out in the selection trial this time. Ruan Li stared at the door not far away with a look of expectation in his eyes. Let's wait and see. Ruan Yang nodded. He was also slightly anticipating Lu Mu Yan's performance in the selection trial. The moment Lu Mu Yan and Lu Mu Bai arrived back home, they were welcomed by a beautiful married woman. Yenna. The beautiful married woman walked quickly towards Lu Mu Yan and pulled her into an embrace, her eyes layered with a thin mist. Mother! Lu Mu Yan felt the other party's body temperature and her heart trembled, a warmth rising in her smile. Ling Yu Exeng quickly wiped the tears from the corner of her eyes and checked her daughter all around. This time, as an issue had popped up, she returned to her natal home, but who would have thought that she missed her daughter's growth? She truly felt regretful. Yenner truly has grown up. Lu Mu Yan felt that her mother was very strong on the outside, but the moment she was in front of her, it was as if she had turned into water too. She couldn't bear the teary eyes and cast a look at Lu Mu Bai beside her for help. Come and read on our website Wuxiao World site. Thanks. Lu Mu Bai chuckled gently, looked at Ling Yu Xen softly and said, Mother, what's going on at maternal grandfather's house? Speaking of her natal home, Ling Yu Xin's arched eyebrows furrowed and sighed. Your maternal grandfather was injured, but now he's recovered a lot. It's just that the Shui clan is truly pushing it too far. They actually cooperated with the Murong clan to suppress the Ling clan. A layer of ice formed in her eyes. The Shui clan's youngest daughter's very talented. I heard that she'll be admitted to a sect after participating in the tournament for hegemony, and also used that to personally come and annul the engagement with Fei Yang. Maternal grandpa was injured? Fei Yang's engagement was also annulled? A killing intent flashed past Lu Mu Bei's eyes. Yeah. Your maternal grandfather was injured by a high-level sword monarch some time ago. He hid it before because he's afraid that you'd all be worried. Fei Yang hadn't left his house ever since that incident. If Shui Ling wanted to sincerely annul the engagement before, the Ling clan wouldn't force the engagement either, but this she was slapping the Ling clan's face on purpose, in public, by coming with so many people to do so. Fei Yang, that child, has always been sensitive, and even if he always has a smile, I'm afraid that he's feeling extremely unhappy inside. When Ling Yu Xian thought of her nephew, she felt extremely sad. In Lu Mu Yan's memory, her maternal grandpa was a very loving and kind elder. Even if she was trash, he didn't dislike her and loved her very much. Ling Fei Yang was her elder cousin, and different to Lu Mu Bei's indifference and serenity, his temperament was gentle from the inside to the outside, and also treated her extremely well. As far as she knew, the Ling clan was one of the 10 distinguished spirit sword clans, and previously, their clan's strength could rank in the top 5. But 10 years ago, her genius maternal uncle that once shocked and amazed the entire Tianling continent disappeared when exploring a secret realm and hadn't returned since. His life or death was unknown. The sword's sovereign ancestor of the Ling clan was in life or death seclusion and hadn't appeared in more than 20 years. No one knew if he had advanced or not. 6 years ago, her cousin Ling Fei Yang was seriously injured because he offended a devil cultivator for Shui Ling. What's more, his legs were poisoned and became immovable due to that incident. The Ling clan that was already experiencing frost being added to Snow 3 was then jointly suppressed by the Murong clan and the Xian clan who had risen to power after the Ling clan. Now they were backstabbed by the Shui clan that always had a good relationship with the Ling clan. The clan's strength had greatly decreased and was now barely at the end of the ranking of the 10 distinguished clans. Annulling the engagement with such an ungrateful woman is good. Lu Mu Bai sneered. When his younger cousin acted to protect Shui Ling that time, it was because she was his fiancée. Who knew that that woman would be this snobbish? It didn't matter that she didn't remember the kindness, yet now she dropped stones onto someone who had fallen into a well for. It was truly despicable. Lu Mu Yan pursed her lips, and a layer of cold light overflowed from the depths of her eyes. Murong clan, Xen clan and the Shui clan, she noted them down. Mother, elder cousin still can't move his legs now? Lu Muyen remembered that Ling Fei Yang was also a proud child favored by the heavens. However, now that he couldn't walk, they didn't know whether her eldest maternal uncle was alive or not, and with the Ling clan in such danger, he must be feeling extreme pressure. Yeah. The poison in his body couldn't be cured even after inviting numerous alchemists and physicians. That devil cultivator's also dead. Who knows how much more torture Fei Yang that child must endure? Ling Yuzin's eyes were full of worry. Since her eldest brother disappeared, her nephew appeared to have changed into a completely different person. When she met him this time, his temperament was especially indifferent. The flamboyant brilliance that he used to carry had long disappeared. Lu Muyen took Ling Yuzin's hand and comforted her. Mother, don't worry, everything will all get better. It seemed that after the selection trial was over, she was bound to pay a visit to the Ling clan. As for that Shui Ling who personally came to annul the engagement, hence slapping their faces, she believed that they would definitely meet in the glacial mountain range this time. Shui Ling wanted to participate in the continental tournament for hegemony and obtain the qualifications to enter a sect? Humph, as long as she was there, she'd surely let that woman lose more than her gains, pound her into the dust, and make her life worse than death. One like diamond in the rough. Too weak, fragile, gentle, pure etc. 3 idiom meaning to make things even word, equivalent to add insult to injury. For idiom meaning to hit a person when they're already down. Make matters worse for them. Chapter 63. Express goodwill. 3 days later, the team outside the Imperial capital that rode on tailwind horses galloped towards the south. As it was an urgent event, the Imperial Academy asked the Imperial family for around a dozen tailwind horses for the students participating in the trial to ride to the glacial mountain range. The leader of the group was precisely Lan Si in blue brocade. After a day's journey, when night fell, they booked a room to rest at an inn in a remote town. After bathing, Lu Muyen went downstairs to dine with the others. When Lan Si saw her come downstairs, he patted the seat next to him, smiled and said, Lu Muyen, come and sit. Lu Muyen was a little surprised by Lan Si's attitude towards her, but she didn't reject, walked over, and sat down naturally, then nodded and greeted the 3 instructors, Teacher Lan, Teacher Ji, Teacher Hu. Then some students came downstairs one after another. Lu Mubai walked straight towards Lu Muyen and sat down beside her. Fu Chen and Ji Han Su also sat down in the remaining seats of the same table. The other people sat at the 2 tables beside them, but the gazes of a few people that looked towards Lu Muyen weren't very kind, especially the senior Earth class female student who carried deep jealousy in her eyes. A person's position in a setting sometimes displayed the degree of attention they received and how highly they were thought of. Even if Lu Muyen wasn't a trash now, she was only the winner of the freshman Earth class, so what qualifications did she have to sit at that table? But because of the instructors and Lu Mubai, she only dared to feel upset inwardly and didn't dare to voice her objections aloud. Lu Muyen, Ji Xian and I need to thank you. Lan Si flipped over a teacup, poured a cup of tea, and looked at Lu Muyen with a smile in his eyes. Lu Muyen raised her eyebrow and asked, I don't remember when I ever had an interaction with Teacher Lan and Teacher Ji. She narrowed her eyes, wondering just what this fox one wanted to do. Actually, it's not that big a deal. It's just that us instructors made a bet before the grand competition, betting on who would obtain the only place in the freshman Earth class between you and Gu Yanran. Ji Xian and I bet on you, and in the end we won. Lan Si's handsome, pretty face revealed a smile that made people feel uncontrollably drawn to. Yeah, the stakes are small, but whether we win or lose impacts our face, which is significant. You've definitely given us a lot of face. Ji Xian's beautiful face revealed a dazzling brightness. She had a good impression of Lu Muyen. Lu Muyen looked at the 2 teachers, who appeared as if they feared that there wasn't enough chaos in the world, with a headache. Didn't they realize that Hu Fei's dark face was about to turn into ink too? Without even needing to think about it, one could guess that Hu Fei definitely bet that Gu Yanran would win. What these two were doing was the typical case of pulling aggro 3 for her. Then I'm really honored. But since teachers won the bet because of me, then shouldn't it be those who see have a share for? Lu Mu Yen smiled, as if saying if you don't give anything to me, you're not generous or sincere. She discovered that Lan Si and Ji Xian were very friendly towards her, while even though the old man named Hu Fei tried hard to hide it, she caught on to his dislike for her. Hu Fei didn't like her, so naturally she wouldn't save face for him either. Not to mention, she even felt killing intent on Hu Fei from time to time, so she was a little more cautious against him. It's a pity that we sold all the things we bet on. Lan Si chuckled, thought about it, then took out a few wooden boxes from his interspatial ring and threw them to Lu Mu Yen. There are a few spiritual herbs inside, take it as a meeting gift. Lu Mu Yen took the box unceremoniously, but didn't open it and instead put it away. Thank you, Teacher Lan. Ji Xian also preferred such straightforward people. She took out a tourmaline bracelet and handed it to Lu Mu Yen, saying with a smile, "This bracelet is for you." Lu Mu Yen didn't feign modesty either, reached out her hand and took the bracelet. With one touch, she discovered the mystery within it. It was a high-quality spirit tool. Although the quality wasn't high, but within each tourmaline, there contained a special energy which could help an alchemist reduce the consumption of mental energy when refining pills. It was indeed very useful. Thank you, Teacher Ji. Lu Mu Yen slid the bracelet onto her wrist then and there. The fact that Ji Xian gave her this bracelet meant that they knew of her identity as an alchemist already. They were expressing goodwill towards her. She had a good impression of Lan Si and Ji Xian, so naturally she accepted their goodwill. Except, the interaction between the three people were translated into a different meaning in the eyes of others. Some students at the two tables beside them didn't feel good about this situation. Wasn't it just that Lu Mu Yen was from a better family background? Was it worth it for the two instructors to express their goodwill like this? Teachers, isn't it those who see have a share for? Then shouldn't you also give us some meeting gifts? Ji Han Su glanced at Lu Mu Yen thoughtfully, then smiled and said to Lan Si and Ji Xian playfully. Lan Si raised his eyebrows and said with a smile, "You also want a meeting gift? Sure, here you guys are." After saying that, he took out a handful of candy and threw a few to each of them. "Teacher, you can't possibly be this stingy. You want to dismiss us with just a few candies?" Ji Han Su caught the candy and complained with a smile. "This is candy made from spiritual fruits. It can replenish your elemental energy during battle. If you don't want it, then return it." Lan Si's delicate and pretty face revealed a trace of playfulness. Come and read on our website Wuxiao World site. Thanks. When Ji Han Su heard that the candy had such an effect, he immediately put it away happily. "What? Of course I want it." The other people didn't expect this candy to have such an effect either and put it away as if a treasure. Lu Mu Yen picked up a candy and placed it in front of her nose for a sniff. An understanding crossed her eyes. Then she tossed the candy into her mouth to try its effect. The taste was rather sweet and sour, but the effect of replenishing spiritual energy was much worse than her grade 1 spiritual energy replenishing pill. Seeing Lu Mu Yen directly pick up the candy and eat, the corner of everyone's mouth, except Lu Mu Bai, twitched. Did she have to be such a spendthrift? Although it's candy so it's sugar, but it had the effect of a pill. Was it really good to be this luxurious? Lu Mu Yen, this is what Teacher Lan gave us to use to replenish our elemental energy during battle. Aren't you failing his expectations by eating it just like this? The female student who won first place in the senior Earth class said. Lu Mu Yen furrowed her brows. Why did she discover that she just wasn't agreeable to women? Most of the female sword masters she had met didn't like her, but it's not like she had the face of a Vixen 5 either. Was it because people were jealous of her rising to greater heights from a trash? Or was it Lan Si and Ji Xian's attitude towards her that they didn't like? Such people were truly too narrow-minded. They'd have a tough time walking on the path of the strong. Of course, if someone slapped her, it was impossible for her to show her other cheek and let them slap it too. Teacher Lan Si, did you just say that the candy is used to replenish our elemental energy in battle? Lu Muyen asked, blinking at Lan Si innocently. Lan Si chuckled, "No. Then did you not allow us to eat the candy that you gifted us right now? Also no. Then have I failed you by eating the candy now? You haven't." Lu Muyen glanced at the woman with her beautiful eyes and sneered, "This senior sister, it seems that you aren't the roundworm in Teacher Lan's belly 6. You." The woman didn't expect Lu Muyen would ask Lan Si like this. Her face flushed red, unsure if it was because she was angered or because she was shamed. This result tells you that you shouldn't pretend to be able to guess other people's thoughts. If you want to stand out, then you need to see if you have the capital to do so. Lu Muyen ridiculed coldly. The woman looked up and saw that there was also dissatisfaction in Lan Si's eyes. Her face paled, bit her lip and stopped talking. Then, Lu Muyen discovered that several of the senior students cast unkind glances at her. Her lips raised slightly in coldness. It was best to separate from these people when they reached the blazing mountain range. 1. Referring to Lan Si. Foxes are thought to be sly and cunning. 2. Grow even darker like ink, which means angered, dissatisfied, etc. 3. Pulling aggro or getting aggro is a gaming term that's slipped into everyday use in China, usually to complain, sometimes jokingly, about how what someone says or does might cause people to hate them. I never knew that it was a gaming term until esports dramas became popular a couple years back, like The King's Avatar, Falling Into Your Smile, etc. Haha, I don't watch all esports dramas though, I'm a bit picky with dramas in general. XD The King's Avatar is a 10 out of 10 for me for those that like esports. Watch the anime too, Chinese anime, do recommend. No romance though. For occasionally used shamelessly by people to say I want a share of that too, even though they might not have done anything to deserve it, but the party they're trying to take a share from might not have done anything to deserve it either. Literally, since I saw it as well, I should have a share of it. 5. A bewitching, enchanting face that is often used to describe people that have a face that men are enchanted by, but other women might use to berate another woman for, usually because of jealousy. 6. A person who is a roundworm in my body means they understand the person a lot. Not being a roundworm in my body means they don't understand them at all. Usually used as a joke, is rather informal, though I've seen more serious dramas say it rhetorically. Till this day I have no idea why it's this particular parasite that's used in this metaphor. In a way I understand, in a way I don't. Did a quick search and apparently it comes from an old saying. Thought to keep this novel more authentic by leaving it as it is so as to learn more about Chinese culture? Ha, random note. Almeo? Yup, females really don't like Lu Muyen. At least the author's aware of that too. Ha, random note 2. The drama chef Hua is making me drool. The food looks so yummy. You're tuning into the Passion Pages YouTube channel. We're so grateful for your support and don't forget to subscribe to join us on this incredible journey through captivating stories. Your generosity through donations truly makes a world of difference, as it's the primary source of revenue that allows me to expand and enhance this channel for you. Thank you from the bottom of my heart for being a part of this adventure.